Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. We're all presented by FanDuel here. Week 1 recap, Sam. It's our first recap. It's our first full week from the new studio.
First
full week recap from the new studio.
First full week recap.
You know what I mean.
I get it. Okay. Yeah.
Week 1 review show. The Week 1 review show.
There you go.
It's time. It's one of my favorite times of the week, Sam. Rolling in on a Monday morning, reacting to everything that we just saw yesterday.
First 7 a.m. start as well.
First 7 a.m. start. That's right. Set the alarms for this season. Between now and February, we're going 7 a.m. Eastern on a Monday morning.
Eastern. It's beautiful. It's still dark out, and you beat a lot of the traffic at that kind of time. Not all of it. Surprising amount still on the road, but you get most of it.
Yeah, it's good. Good, smooth commute to get here. We got a lot to get to. We have no restrictions on the back end, over under on how long we're going to be here for the show. We're usually a good 2.5 hours. We had a hard out last year.
We did. A contractual hard out. We weren't allowed to stay in the studio that was no longer ours for beyond a certain specified period of time. No such restrictions now. The only restriction is when our producer will just cut us off.
That could happen. We'll see how long it goes here. We got the Godfathers in the chat, I see. Neil Hornsby.
Wow.
It's about lunchtime. It's a good lunchtime
That's
listen
true,
for him
yeah.
here
He's
at
been up
7
for
a.m.
hours.
All right, man. We got a lot to get to here. It's all brought to you by FanDuel. We've got our new memberships are live here. If you see people with their name highlighted in green, they're new members. Just to be clear, when we announced the memberships the other night, nothing changes on the show. We're not changing anything. We're just adding, right? We're not. Nothing's. You don't have to. You don't have to pay for anything that you normally get. It's just extra perks.
If you don't want to be a member, you're losing nothing. If you do want to be a member, there are various perks, including your name on the PFF's or not the PFF. Wow, that's
Wow.
muscle
CTM.
memory.
CTM.
Your name on the
CTM.
It's literally written on the wall. Your name on the CTM studio. It's over there. There's 5 names now that are in there.
Wow, that's Max Fine, as we used to say. All right, man, you ready?
Yeah.
We got to get into it. Every Monday, we will start with a quick-ish Thursday night review. It all started on opening night, Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Dallas Cowboys. It was 24-20 early in the game, 24-20. Not a lot of points toward the end. The Eagles get the win to move to 1-0. Cowboys fall to 0-1. I thought this game started. We had our watch-along. We had our first ever watch-along, which we'll be doing for non-members and for members. A little extra perk in the future here. Our little couch set right over there watching this game. There was a lightning delay, a lot happening in this first game, but the Eagles get the win as they defend their Super Bowl title.
They did. The lightning delay, of course, cost us just enough time for the battery to end before the show.
Yeah, we're working out some kinks on the watch along, but we had we had a decent number of people watching with us for a broadcast that we couldn't show the game. We were just talking about it.
We did. It was fun, and we'll do some more of those in the future. Obviously, the biggest story of that game was right at the start, right? It was Jalen Carter getting himself tossed before the game even started for spitting on Dak Prescott. And then, subsequently, you get all the controversy of, Dak spat first in the vague general direction of Jalen Carter. Now, what do we make from that? Dak comes out and says, look, I was just spitting through the gap in my lineman, forward. I couldn't spit on my lineman, right? I'm just going, parting the gap and then spitting there. And Jalen Carter happened to be in that direction. And then he responds by, walking up and spitting on Dak Prescott. I'm not sure that Dak Prescott's explanation was a 100% correct, but I think it was correct enough that Jalen Carter was still took it from 0 to 100 in a way that was completely unnecessary and got himself tossed.
There's talk this week that Jalen Carter could see a suspension as well.
If you're going to spit on somebody, I basically have no problem with any punishment you want to dole out to that whatsoever. Absolutely toss him from the game. And if you want to lob a suspension on top of that, cool. If you spitting on somebody is the kind of thing that should instantly spark a melee. So if you I have no problem whatsoever with cracking down on that.
Which is huge because we have a Super Bowl rematch coming up this week. The Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll keep an eye on Jalen Carter. As for the game, I thought the defenses looked awful early on. It was almost like the lightning delay helped. They came out, both sides just came out with much better energy. Neither team punted well into the third quarter. And then ultimately the difference in the game I thought was Jalen Hurts with his legs. Couple rushing touchdowns, key scramble to seal the deal. He finished with 62 yards on 14 carries, including all your tush pushes and QB kneels and everything. But I thought Hurts played an efficient game. I saw stuff going around about his dink and dunk and this and that. It's like, well, the Cowboys were playing a whole bunch of zone coverage, and he finished 19 of 23 for 152, which was, I don't know, the expectation. And then the one deep ball that he threw was perfect to Jahan Dotson for 51 yards. So Dotson was the leading receiver for the Eagles with 59, and A.J. Brown had just one catch for 8. So I think once again showing the Eagles can win in different ways.
Yeah, it was an unusual game from that point of view. Like Philadelphia, they weren't using their usual stars in the passing game. They were getting it done via different means. Dallas, so it's tough because, it was a close game. They ultimately lost. So result equals the same. However, on both sides of the ball, I think there was some sort of relatively interesting and encouraging, schematic science from Dallas. CeeDee Lamb had a big game that should have been a massive game if he just caught some footballs, right? He dropped a few passes that would have been massive plays for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, Renner had a tweet where he was like, oh, Dak deserved way better. Look at this performance. And he threw 3 or 4 passes out there that were insane windows that Dak Prescott hit receivers with. Now, at least 2 or 3 of those were yeah, he put the ball into the extremely tight window. However, the tight window was moving at a rapid rate of knots towards a brick wall at the time. It's is that really a great pass, or is that inevitably going to lead to a big hit at the end, which is probably not a great idea?
At a rapid rate of knots. We're back, man.
Yeah.
You're back. We're back.
They were right on the borderline of, I don't know if that's a great play or a bad play because of what you're leading the receiver into. Now, at least one of them was a great pass, period, and it should have been caught. But so
he hit CD of those, Jake Ferguson in the end zone where he was going to take a hit, but he probably should have caught it. I thought that the 2 CD Lamb drops, I don't even know if the second one was really a drop. He had to lay out with a free safety coming over the top, but the one that he put on his hands on a deep post, that was the one that was going to get them into range. That was a great throw by Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
The final one where it was kind of a desperation heave and CD's got to lay out and worry about
getting
getting
that's a drop. I mean, he had at least
whatever you want to call it,
drops.
but it was one that he laid out in probably a good spot. But I don't think he was. I wouldn't put that all on CeeDee Lamb, who had a good game. Other than he dropped some key passes.
That was a great pass. I think the problem was not the pass. I think the problem was CeeDee Lamb just got held up a tick by a defensive back, and that stopped him getting to it. I don't think that one was a drop, but I think there was at least 3 clear dropped passes by CeeDee Lamb, and he still had under 100 yards. So, I think the offense did some nice things. And I think the defense, with all that zone, they were showing on offense. They were showing a ton of motion, pre-snap motion. They basically didn't do any of that last year. So all of a sudden, you're at least being normal in terms of smashing the easy buttons that the rest of the NFL is doing for the first time in a while. And then on defense, all that zone. They showed Philadelphia effectively more zone than anybody showed them last year, right? And it did kind of work. Okay, they lost the game, but this offense was not the way it usually is. It did sort of stifle them. So it's tough to be, the Dallas Cowboys and relying on moral victories, but that's, if you don't have an actual victory to comfort yourself with, then maybe a moral one is what you can take.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really stop them until in the second half. I thought Dallas, when they needed to stop the run at the end of the game, they did a nice job at least giving the offense a chance. But look, it was a strange game in that the offenses had their way early, defenses had their way late, and you're talking about a couple CeeDee Lamb drops that probably make a big difference here. We're going to keep an eye on Jalen Carter. Obviously, a big game this week. They're going to go to Arrowhead, as I said, in the 4:00 window this Sunday for the Super Bowl rematch. We'll see if the Eagles are at full strength there. Other note, Walt actually brought something good to the table here early in the chat.
Wow.
Zadarius Smith signed by the Philadelphia Eagles. On Twitter, Eagles Eric, I believe, was someone astute that I noticed highlighted this, and he said because the Cowboys and Eagles play that first game, they have an opportunity to maybe sign the veteran on Friday, a day early before vesting the entire salary and everything. So the Eagles bring Zadarius Smith in, something I think the Lions really need and maybe should have done earlier. Zadarius Smith comes in to add another pass rusher to that Philadelphia front.
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, a lot of teams wait to add these veteran players because if they're active on the roster and on game day, opening week, their entire salary becomes guaranteed for the year. If you wait until after week 1, it's no longer the case. That actually feels like quite a competitive advantage for the random teams chosen for the start of the season. You get, a couple of days, or a day in this case, because there was a Friday game as well.
That doesn't really make sense.
Why not?
At all. No, that they get the advantage.
Right.
I'm agreeing with you.
It feels like it's an actual, like a fairly significant competitive advantage because guys like Zadarius Smith are out there on the market basically waiting for that watershed moment of the contract, and two teams get several days head start over most of the league on that.
Yeah, I agree. Loophole there. But Zadarius Smith added to the Eagles. Again, they start 1-0. Cowboys 0-1 here. So that was your Thursday night game. Got no more use for that game.
Done.
We are back. Friday night game. We're in Brazil. Los Angeles Chargers get the win over the Kansas City Chiefs. And so they're in first place. By the way, the Chiefs are by themselves.
In last.
For the
first time
AFC
since 2012.
West. Really?
Yeah.
Since 2012? That's pre-Andy Reid?
Mm-hmm.
Chargers 27.
It's pre-Alex
Chiefs
Smith, right?
21. Yeah, 2013, Andy Reid and Alex Smith, I think, both joined the Chiefs. It's all been uphill from there. This was a fun game, back and forth. The Chargers, they had some success early on. They could have been up 10 going into the half. They were up 7 going into the half, and they just held on. I saw a Chargers team that was very aggressive and played this properly going up against the AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. The Chargers threw the ball early and often, ran a lot of play action early, and then late in the game, as things tightened up a little bit, the Chargers remained aggressive, and it was the pass game that really gave them an opportunity to win. Justin Herbert, really good game from him, 25 of 34 for 318 yards and 3 touchdowns. And perhaps the most important play, a 19-yard scamper to seal the deal on 3rd and 11. And the Chargers get the win, 27-21 in Brazil.
Yeah, really impressive by the Chargers. They were the better team. They deserved it. Justin Herbert, I thought, had a really good game. He showed, he's now... For a while, he was in that category of is he the next kind of great quarterback or the guy that can push himself into that top tier along with the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, et cetera. And then he kind of slipped away from that. But people, I think, forget sometimes just how injured the guy's been in his career. Like a lot of his career has been asterisked with that. Yeah, but he was battling rib injuries. Yeah, but he was battling this and that. And okay, that's part of the game. But I think it does mean that if you get him healthy and suddenly you get a run of play where he's not dealing with something, you can get that elite level play from him. Now, obviously, he's one of a few quarterbacks that have to show it on the biggest stages in the playoffs, all that kind of thing. But, Justin Herbert is capable of going out there toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes and coming out on top, and that's kind of what he did.
And in the Chargers passing attack, this was a big question last year and coming into this offseason. Ladd McConkey emerged last year as a rookie, as their clear go-to guy, a guy that could win on the inside, on the outside, with speed, with quicks, outstanding route running, and he was wide open for a bunch in this game, 6 catches for 74 yards. But the complementary pieces, they added Keenan Allen back in. He goes 7 catches for 68, classic 9.7 yards per reception for Keenan Allen, including a touchdown. But you've got your get open against zone, right place at the right time, be on the same page with the quarterback, Keenan Allen, and then Quentin Johnston with 2 touchdowns, including the eventual game winner or the deciding touchdown, using his speed and his size. He's good on those shallow crosses, and he was open behind the defense a couple times. Did get his hands on one in the end zone that he could have caught, the usual Quentin Johnston. But, man, if they get him and Allen complementing Ladd McConkey, that's what the Chargers needed, and they got that against the Chiefs.
Yeah, and Quentin Johnston, it feels like they might be starting to at least understand how best to deploy Quentin Johnston to get the most out of him. A lot of sort of shallow crossing routes underneath where you can just use the size and speed and let him run away from coverage and try and get the ball in his hands and make stuff happen after the catch rather than expect him to do, nuanced route running and all that kind of stuff before the catch. This game also had a bunch of weird stuff in it. Number one, you have Travis Kelce taking out Xavier Worthy early in the game, which probably changed the entire thing. Like 3rd snap or something, They run mesh. It's a mess. It looks like a high school running it. And Xavier Worthy at, let's say, $170 runs into a guy that weighs 250, and that's only ending one way. And apparently the way it ended was Xavier Worthy having a complete shoulder dislocation. That's a pretty significant injury for a guy that was, maybe their number 1 wide receiver heading into the season until they get Rashee Rice back. So you're still working on the Rashee Rice thing. Now Xavier Worthy's gone down with a dislocated shoulder. now you're back to this, like Marquise Brown has still not quite worked out the way they were hoping it would. Juju Smith-Schuster is still there making a play or two, but like
best shape of his life, by the way.
Of course. And then, Travis Kelce is a slowed down version of himself. So you're back to this Chiefs offense suddenly being relatively bereft of wide receiver help again.
Chiefs finished with 21 points. I thought the Chargers defense did a really good job. Now, again, the Worthy injury was a factor. We saw the Chiefs, who we talked all offseason about them coming out smoking.
Did you see the video? Did you see the video that's going around of it's a clip of the New Heights show with Taylor Swift where she was talking about how happy and excited she was when they drafted Xavier Worthy? And it's like,
and then Travis takes him out.
So it zooms in on Travis Kelce of like, and then like superimposed with him just running right through Xavier Worthy and wrecking his shoulder. It's like, it all makes sense now.
I mean, as someone
funny.
who doesn't have the best spatial awareness and bumps into things pretty often in my life, I could relate to old man Travis here.
And as somebody about 100 pounds smaller than you, I can relate to what happens if the two of those people collide.
Yeah, that was a very check the mic moment. Like bull in a china shop takes out the smaller individual.
It's just
you never know what I'm going to run into.
There's a lot of times we're being
space in the studio. We can run some routes over here.
There's a lot of times we're being 170, 180 pounds on an NFL football field is not a big deal. One of those times is not when you run into a guy that weighs 250 and you didn't see it coming. Like that's one of the few times where it is a major problem, where there's just only one way that's going, and it's just unfortunate. In this instance, it was his own teammate.
So after Worthy goes down, we were expecting, with Worthy's 4.2 speed, they brought in Tyquan Thornton, his 4.29 speed or whatever he's got, and Marquise Brown and his speed. We were expecting the Chiefs to throw the ball down the field. Instead of Worthy getting those targets, it was Thornton. Mahomes missed him a couple times early. Then they hit on one. But we're talking about a Chargers defense. I thought they played great overall. It took a couple Mahomes, special superhuman type plays, that little lob on third down as he's falling down.
Ridiculous.
Then there's a coverage bust on the next play for a long Travis Kelce touchdown. So those two things were tied together. Then there's a 4th and long where Mahomes scrambles out. There's a coverage bust on the back end. He hits a Marquise Brown for 49. It's one of those, I feel like the Chargers played really well on about 90% of the snaps.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs offense really struggled to get anything going on 90% of the snaps, but a couple of those big-time plays for Mahomes and a couple scrambles in there, including a touchdown, that kept the Chiefs in it. So I want to keep an eye on this Chiefs offense, what they're going to do either without Worthy. We're keeping an eye on his shoulder and what that looks like. We're hearing, from 2 weeks to the whole season. Like there's a wide range of what could happen here with Xavier Worthy. And, of course, Rashee Rice is coming back after 6 weeks. But, yeah, the Chiefs offense, they kind of had to revert back to what they were last year, which was a bunch of dink and dunk underneath type stuff because they were missing their top deep threat.
Yeah, I mean, it throws them back into this chaos that they would have hoped to have come out of. We were talking about, will that offense hit the ground running? Well, it's hard to know because 3 snaps in, you lose one of the most key players from the offense, and suddenly it's all going to change again. The other crazy thing was Teair Tart somehow didn't get ejected for like a full-on punch to Travis Kelce's face because it was an open hand strike, and apparently that doesn't get you ejected.
There was debate about how hard you hit, and he ended up batting 2 passes. In there,
2 passes had to keep pressure as well. Like he had about as big an impact as you're going to get from a guy like him over the rest of the course of that game. Right after the moment, he should have been tossed from the game for punching a guy. They came on the broadcast and they were explaining that it was an open hand strike, and that's a different. There used to be a form of MMA. I don't know if it still exists, but it was called pancrase, where one of the rules, they were trying to encourage grappling as opposed to striking. So one of the rules was you could only hit a guy in the face with an open hand strike. And the idea is, well, you're not going to slap somebody unconscious, so they'll use wrestling.
Except in the slap league.
And they'll use wrestling and jiu-jitsu. But there was a guy called Bas Rutten, this crazy Dutch lunatic, who realized that if you punch a guy like this, right? If you literally punch him, it's the same thing, right? All you're doing is opening your hand. So he was blasting dudes unconscious he literally sent the first guy he knocked out to the hospital unconscious, hitting them with open hand strikes. Teair Tart hit Travis Kelce with a Bas Rutten style open hand strike that, because it was open hand, is not how you get ejected.
this is why I love waking up early on a Monday morning to get whatever crazy references you're going to bring up. The one difference there, though, is Travis Kelce's wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
So whether you're throwing punches or open hand strikes or whatever, it's not exactly the same.
It's exactly the same, other than the fact that he's not the guy he hit isn't going to hospital. But like that's not the delineation, because whoever Shiloh Sanders hit in the head was wearing a helmet as well. He still punched him in the head, so he gets ejected. Like that's an absurd distinction.
What else did I want to mention on this game? Again, the Chargers. Really quick here. We talked a lot last year about the Chiefs and all of their one-possession wins, right? Undefeated in one-possession games. And we spent a lot of time last year saying the Chiefs find a way, they make fewer mistakes than their opponents. And I thought the Chargers, they had an end-of-the-half gaffe where they gave the Chiefs 3 points, basically. The Chiefs did a nice job there. The Chargers, because they stayed aggressive, as the Chiefs came back, these are the types of things over the last few years or during the whole Mahomes era, when the Chiefs are down, they seem to make fewer mistakes. And then we see their opponents sometimes, turtle up a little bit, or they try to, run and, run the clock and, play defense. And the Chargers did not do that at all. When they were up 2 scores, the Chiefs kicked a field goal to get within 6. The Chargers had a chance to, let's just run it out and play defense. We're having a great game. They didn't do that. They stayed aggressive, and they came out throwing. And again, that 3rd and 11, little controversial play for the Chiefs. The thing that we highlighted on the preview show here, that Chris Jones, a few times a game, is going to line up over right tackle, and he usually gets home. I mean, like more often than not, more often than other edge rushers. He takes an inside route on Trey Pipkins, the right tackle. That helped Justin Herbert get outside. So Jones loses contain, and that was exactly what happened with man coverage behind him. 3rd and 11, Herbert, wide open run. And there was some arguing between Drew Tranquill and Chris Jones after that play.
They did. So Chris Jones did that a few times in the game. One was this, one of the key plays in the game where he blows contain trying to make the play. It happened earlier where Joe Alt just absorbed it like it was nothing. Joe Alt playing left tackle looked pretty phenomenal in this game. Like that's one of the things to come out of this game. I mean, it's a problem for the future, but at some point they're going to have 2 outstanding left tackles healthy, and one of them is going to have to go to the right side. It's presumably Joe Alt again, but he's showing that he could be an elite left tackle as well as right tackle based off that performance. And then, one was late in the game where Trey Pipkins, he beats Trey Pipkins inside, but in doing so gives up the edge, and Justin Herbert's athletic enough to make that play. And I get it. I get that argument from both sides. Like Tranquill's right. He blew contain. It was a bad play by Chris Jones because he didn't get home. However, he usually he makes that play quite often to the point where I think he's earned the sort of the slack to freelance and try and give it a shot. He got the pressure, right? He just didn't finish the pressure because Herbert's athletic enough to outrun him to the edge.
And we've had this debate through the years watching J.J. Watt, watching Aaron Donald. When you're that good, sometimes you take these chances,
right?
But
you have to make the play.
But you got to finish it, right? If Jones is a step quicker and finishes the play, you're like, wow, great job. You took a chance. Right. You went inside. You finished the play. You sealed the deal. Chiefs get the ball back. But he didn't. And credit to Herbert, by the way, who does look healthy. We know he's fast. I thought he played a great game and then sealed it with that run.
Like Lawrence Taylor is the finest example of, you can freelance if you get it right. If you don't get it right, we've got some problems, right? If you finish the play, it's all good. Doesn't matter whether it was in the playbook, doesn't matter, how completely made up it was. If you make the play, everything's good. If you don't make the play, then we have a problem. Chris Jones got halfway to making the play and didn't quite finish it. Justin Herbert beat him. Therefore, it was a problem.
All right, man. Those are the two, the Thursday and Friday night games of opening weekend. We're on to Sunday.
Nice.
As we usually go ahead.
Before we move on, I just wanted to shout out our friend Matt Colquitt, who sent us some SMU merch. Now that I'm an official SMU fan. Now, not the greatest weekend for our Mustangs.
You must be heartbroken after the double overtime loss to Baylor.
Exactly. Critically, though, I wanted to shout him out because this is the merch. We threw a link to his Etsy shop in the description, but I wanted to do it now because it's kind of hot in the studio and I want to take off the jumper.
Oh, the sweatshirt.
Whatever. The thing that I'm currently wearing that has a T-shirt on underneath it, I'm going to need to take it off because it's pretty hot in here.
Go ahead.
Thanks.
I'll give you my solo shot here. Dolphins, Colts, we're on to yesterday, to Sunday. And as we always do, we're going to go Pretty much chronological through the 1 o'clocks and then the 4 o'clocks and then Sunday Night Football. So if you tuned in for Ravens-Bills, that's a build-up. That'll come somewhere in the 9:30 to 10 o'clock range. But Dolphins-Colts, and this is the first game where it's really tough to give proper credit and give proper blame. So we got to touch on both sides here. But the Colts win 33-8, a dominant outing from the Indianapolis Colts. We have to touch on it from both sides, right? Because you get that a lot, right? Oh, you're talking all about the Dolphins' failure. What about my Colts? What about the Colts and their credit, or vice versa? Let's start with the Colts. Dominant effort from start to finish. They only had 7 drives. They scored on all of them.
Yeah.
Incredible job by the Indianapolis Colts, and it's not Danny Dimes anymore, I've been told.
Danny Dollars?
It's Indiana Jones.
Indiana
Jones.
No,
That's what they were saying. They were in the live chat last night. The people were saying it's Indiana Jones.
No.
Take it for what it's worth.
You can't have that.
Okay.
It's already taken. You can't have India. I mean, like the reason, like Indiana Saban or whatever it was, Indiana Nig, whatever the Shane Gillis called him, that was funny because it doesn't exist. You can't just like co-opt something else that's already a thing.
They co-opted it.
So there were some funny stats to come out of this. First of all, I love Mondays after week 1 when you get crazy results or wild extreme results. A lot of people thought Indy would win this game, but like not to the level they did. And then you have that inevitable question of, well, does that say more about the team that won or the team that lost, right?
Yeah.
And we don't know that for a few weeks yet. I think we can take some guesses on this game, but it is fascinating because of that. So early, Daniel Jones, the Colts, they scored on their first 4 possessions, and the last time that happened was the 2006 Peyton Manning Super Bowl year.
Going to the Super Bowl.
So immediately, 4 drives in, you're like, this is great. We're going to the Super Bowl with Daniel Jones. Perfect. They ended up scoring on 7 straight possessions, which is the most of any quarterback this century, right?
Yeah.
Like the Miami Dolphins, in the space of a couple of years, remember when they hung 70 or whatever it was on Denver? And it's like, vibes could not be higher in Miami. And they could have gone 73, but they didn't kick the field goal, at the end, because that would have been too much.
Don't need that.
No, 70, sure. 73, sorry. No, that's rubbing it in. So they eased off on Denver late in the game and still put 70 on them. The vibes were like the highest they've ever been for the Dolphins. This was like 84 Marino year. Everything was great. And now they've become that Denver Broncos. Like the vibes could not be worse. The entire offseason was like one giant bummer in Miami. Like Tyreek Hill's, upset. The relationship's ruined. We're going to have to rebuild. Everything felt bad. They were getting wrecked every joint practice they played against other teams. Like preseason the whole thing was a mess. And you're like, well, maybe it won't mean anything. And then we get to week 1, and week 1 is just the same as the offseason vibes. It's like, this is depressing. Tyreek Hill's having a temper tantrum on the sideline. Jalen Waddle is getting shoulder injuries, getting tackled. Like everything was just awful. And meanwhile, Danny Dimes on the opposite sideline is like, plotting out new nicknames, comparing stats to Peyton Manning. Like the whole thing is ridiculous.
Daniel Jones finishes 22 of 29 for 272, 1 touchdown, no picks. He did get sacked once. I thought, we'll start with the Colts on that side of the ball offensively. We spent a lot of time this offseason. We saw them at training camp in joint practice against the Packers. Definitely came away saying, I like their playmakers. I liked their playmakers last year with Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, adding Tyler Warren to the mix. By the way, Tyler Warren looks as advertised. We'll talk about him in a second. I thought the Colts offense, they used misdirection, play action. Daniel Jones ran the offense effectively. I'm not trying to downplay what he did. It was just he made, for the most part, made pretty quick decisions. One bad one in there, I'd say. Pretty quick decisions. Got rid of the ball to a bunch of possession-type receivers, and then even threw just a really nice throw up the seam or up the sideline to Alec Pierce for the 36-yarder. But Michael Pittman, Tyler Warren, moving the ball around. The minor miracle in this game, Daniel Jones threw a perfect timing route to A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell, who has been QB-proof in the negative direction, where it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, he's never on the same page, whether
never.
It's Joe Flacco, whether it's Anthony Richardson. He's never on the same page, and Daniel Jones threw a deep comeback, like a Peyton Manning, by the way, like Peyton in Indianapolis, a deep comeback well before the break, where he put it right on A.D. Mitchell. Daniel Jones is elevating everybody around him.
We've been searching for the next Manning, right? Is it Arch Manning? Is it going to be Marshall Manning? Really, the heir apparent to Peyton is actually Daniel Jones. It was right there in front of our eyes the whole time.
And we haven't even made this connection. Remember, David Cutcliffe same coach as Eli, and didn't Cutcliffe coach both Mannings? I can't even remember now. That was years ago. But we didn't even make that connection. But look, Jones played a good game. So I'm going to give all the credit to the Colts, and we're going to give all the blame to the Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
We're going to split this all up.
A.D. Mitchell has been like the connection that Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. have on the back shoulder fades. They're just never on the same page. That's A.D. Mitchell with every quarterback in every route, and yet Daniel Jones was able to hit him twice.
So I thought Jones played well. Obviously, was very effective, and then Tyler Warren, first round tight end. And he was as advertised, man. I mean, throughout this entire preseason, training camp, he looked good. I thought in this game, it's the same thing. He's open over the middle of the field. They gave him a handoff on. He picked up 3 yards as a fullback on a run for a first down. They gave him a screen where he went for 12 yards. Ran him on his little yoink or wheel route. Made that catch like he was doing in the preseason. He knows how to get open. He's got really good feel. I've used the phrase QB friendly to Tyler Warren, and I think that's a great description of what he is. Caught 7 passes for 76 yards on 9 targets. And then you had the run game component here, where he took Matthew Judon, the edge rusher, cut him off backside, and then drove him 5 or 6 yards down the field. So Tyler Warren as a run blocker. Yeah, as a run blocker, as a runner, as a short and downfield threat, I thought Tyler Warren, as advertised, great debut for him. And with Daniel Jones at the helm and Josh Downs, who is their normal possession receiver, he's coming off this hamstring injury where he was in and out of training camp over the last few weeks. I think Warren is just a perfect fit for Daniel Jones in this offense. In addition to Shane Steichen and his offense, which has a good history until Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco with some inconsistent play there. But I thought that duo, they meshed well.
We said it going into the season. Look, this is a good situation for a quarterback, whoever it is, right? If you've got 3 pillars of quarterback support, receiving core, offensive line, and scheme coaching, all 3 of them feel like they're pretty good in Indianapolis. And then you add the defense, which can be good as well. Like this is a team that should make the playoffs if they have the quarterback to take them there. Week 1, Daniel Jones was that quarterback. Will that last for 17 games? Who knows? In this game, Daniel Jones as a rushing threat is significant and maybe still somehow underrated. He does, however, have the self-preservation instincts of a lemming. I mean, there was a play early in the game where he took a scramble, then tried to cut inside somebody and got just buried from behind by, I think, Matthew Judon was running him down and just annihilated him. You're like, dude, you don't need to take that hit. You've already made the play, slide or whatever. That's probably going to cost him some games at some point where he does that and just gets wrecked and he's, down for a few weeks. But week 1, it couldn't have gone better. Literally couldn't have gone better.
So full credit to the Colts and then their defense. I think the Dolphins' offensive line coming in was already a question. Some injuries up front. I mean, they had their issues, but how much is to blame for the Dolphins? Yeah. You mentioned this whole offseason where it felt like joint practices were bad. There's always 2 or 3 teams where it just didn't feel like they got better this offseason. There's not many. It's usually, easy, right? It's easy to build up optimism.
Because usually you're only adding players, effectively.
Right.
You've got a round of
we got rid of the bad players. Yeah. We brought in all the good players. And it's easy to build up optimism for, I'd say, 29 or 30 out of the 32 teams. And there's always a couple where it's like, did they really get better? They've got some holes that they haven't fixed. The cornerback room is awful. Are they really going to be better on the offensive line? And those were the offseason questions for Miami. And nothing about this game answered those questions other than, okay, the offensive line and the back 7, there are concerns there for Miami. In addition to the way Tua played.
If I was sort of guessing, right, I would say the performance of the Colts offense is more due to the Colts offense than it was Miami's defense being an absolute train wreck. Even with, their secondary is awful on paper and it lost players in this game. Storm Duck went down hurt and that he was playing for them. So you could only assume whoever's behind Storm Duck on the depth chart is getting worse. The other side of the ball, I think, is more debatable. The Colts defense played really well, obviously. That feels like there might actually be more signal in Miami's offense just being horrendous, at least in this game. The other thing that was ridiculous, by the way, this is the first time the Colts have won a Week 1 game since 2013.
Wow.
13. They had, Adam Schefter tweeted, it's been almost 4,400 days since the Colts last won a Week 1 game. They were 0-10-1 in that period. That's crazy. All the focus on Cincinnati starting slow. Okay, it's usually 2 games, but like the Colts literally hadn't won the first week for a decade.
Is it the Jim Irsay, emotional week?
There was
one
a lot
game?
of that.
There was. We'll ask those questions, I think, heading into week 2. I just want to go through. I thought Tua, Miami offense generally was horrible.
Yes.
But Tua at the beginning, right? His time in Miami with Mike McDaniel, I think, has been characterized by anticipation over the middle, great feel for throwing that little deep in cut, and his very, very first attempt there, he just overthrows it for an interception. And in my notes, overthrow interception. Then they miss a blitz pickup, he gets sacked and fumbles. Then there's another almost interception in the middle of the field after the backup right guard gets beat up. Then there's an unblocked rusher for a sack, just completely unaccounted for by either the blocking scheme or a hot route. Nothing. Then you have the tight end and the running back trying to block DeForest Buckner, which blows up the entire play.
That didn't go well
for a sack. And I wrote in my notes, I don't mean to bring this up, but it felt like last year's Texans, where they when things went wrong, it was uncertainty, missed assignments, and the same thing that messed C.J. Stroud up for several games last year was messing up with Tua. Then he completely misreads. Throws into Latu Island. Latu dropping into coverage. Tua doesn't see that and throws it right to him.
That was
for an interception.
That was impressive because that was okay. It's Latu dropping into coverage, but it was difficult to find him. Tua actually had to work to get that ball to Latu. That was so bad, that play.
Yeah, so I wrote down, look, I think a couple better throws later from Tua. The only completions he had early on were just quick hitters to the flat. And he did his usual, get rid of the ball pretty quickly to protect the offensive line. He did his best. This was rookie or second year level performance from Tua, where everything was vision, his accuracy was off. It was a poor outing overall from him, and of course up front for Miami.
You know what else it looked like? So you sort of said it reminded you of last year's Texans a bit, where it was like their offensive line had never encountered a stunt or any kind of complex pressure, and half the problem was mental more than physical. Guys getting whooped. It reminded me of last year's Bears, where even the good things are not how you've drawn them up.
Yeah.
Tua made a couple of. This is the thing. He played terribly, I think, overall in the game. He did, however, make a couple of really nice throws. But even the really nice throws, there's something really bad on the play. So he has a really nice deep out at some point where 2 wide receivers are basically running the same route 15 yards downfield. It's a combination, and they haven't high-loaded at all. They've run to the same spot, and Tua happens to be able to pick one of them out in the sideline. There's another really nice play he has as well, where he hits a guy deep on a scramble drill. But again, it's the protection's already broken down. It's a second chance play. Even the good things were bad in this game for the Dolphins.
So it ends up 33-8. The Colts with the win. Anything else on Miami or this game? I credit the Colts. They did a great job. They looked outstanding. Miami looked as bad as we feared that they could be.
Yeah.
In week 1. And look, I really thought Tua to Waddle and Tyreek Hill would mask some of their issues, and for 1 week at least, it hasn't.
I mean, look, week 1, overreaction week. Everybody's going to be going all kinds of craziness based off this. This, I think, is the closest thing you're going to get to the overreactions might be legit. This would terrify me if I'm a Dolphins fan. Number 1, you got wrecked, but number 2, the Mike McDaniel, Tua, this combination for their time when they've been good, it's been all based on exceptional detail, timing, everything being exactly in sync and in a groove, and being, kind of essentially more prepared and ahead of everybody else. We're going to out-execute you, particularly early in the season, because we have this thing down. For them to look like this week 1 is an awful sign, because this is usually their strength, right? All the detail stuff. We are absolutely dialed in. We're in the zone. Tua can do this offense blindfold. He doesn't even have to, think. It's just immediate, 2 seconds out, boom. and the ball's there. There's a receiver exactly where he's throwing it. None of that was there in this game. Like, I don't know how they're finding that in the next couple of weeks. And based off how bad this was, I don't know how long they have to find it before McDaniel's seat becomes, or his position becomes untenable.
I mentioned this yesterday, by the way, really quickly. With Xavier Worthy's injury and the worse Miami looks, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying you're going to hear rumblings and rumors and people concocting Tyreek Hill back to Kansas City stories. I'm not saying they do it. I'm not saying they want to. I'm not saying the cap's going to work out for Kansas City. But if Miami's sitting here at 1-3, 1-4, 1-5, 0-4, whatever it is, and depending on Xavier Worthy's injury, you're gonna at least hear that in the coming weeks. And does Miami strip it down because they haven't drafted often enough the last couple of years, and their lack of depth, I think, showed up here in week one.
Somebody in the chat was asking, are there any signs whatsoever of optimism for Miami Dolphins? I'll give you one. Patrick Paul looked decent, the left tackle.
Yes.
This was one of the big, question marks heading in. That offensive line looks really rough on paper, and Patrick Paul, he's the young guy that they've kind of ID'd to take over at left tackle from Teron Armstead. Patrick Paul played pretty well. Nobody else did, but Patrick Paul did.
Optimism for the Dolphins. All right, I got no more use for that game. Pittsburgh Steelers 34.
Oh, now we're talking.
New York Jets 32. The Aaron Rodgers revenge tour has started.
Yep.
He hates everybody at the Jets organization, as he said after the game. Rodgers finishes 22 of 30 for 244, 4 touchdowns and no picks in his Pittsburgh Steelers debut. Of all the games, there were elements of this that I bought into, right? The Jets' run game and Justin Fields as a runner. The part I didn't buy into was this one being a shootout because the Jets' offense, they went toe-to-toe with the Steelers, and it was back and forth. I thought the Steelers' defense they're a concern coming out of this, but the Jets hung tough. They are going to be feisty. They were up 9 in the second half, though. Fumbled a kickoff return to get the Steelers back into it. So both teams had a lot of chances, and it ended up being a Chris Boswell 60-yard field goal. That was the difference in this game.
I feel like the Jets, this was one that got away for the Jets. I feel like they probably should have won this game. They were in position to it. Like you said, they had the turnover that gave Pittsburgh a chance. It was a 60-yarder that gave them the lead. And then even right at the end, the Jets are driving to try and, answer. And then Jalen Ramsey comes up with, the play of the game effectively to end it. Just a massive hit on Garrett Wilson to knock the ball loose on 4th down, end the game right there. So a lot of things had to bounce Pittsburgh's way late in the game for them to be able to come out with this win. But fair play to them, they did. They made the plays when they mattered, and that's the difference between winning and losing a game. But I think you have to be impressed by both offenses overall. Maybe more impressed from the Jets' point of view because we expect the Steelers' defense to be better than the Jets' defense over the course of the season. But both offenses looked really good. Fields, look, it's one game, but this is the game where it's like, is there a leap forward to be had in Justin Fields' performance? This was the leap. Now, he's got to do it for more than 1 week, but he actually played well, not just as a runner and as a guy who can open up some things, but he was good passing the ball in this game.
Let's talk Fields for a minute then. Yeah, he had 2 rushing touchdowns. He had a beautiful 33-yard pass to Garrett Wilson for a touchdown.
Which was great because it was simple. It was a simple one-on-one against, favorable coverage. But the point is he just saw it clicked through, right? There was no hesitation, no overthinking it. He just knew this is the route. I put the ball in the air. We score a touchdown. Simple.
I thought he was only sacked 1 time. And if, the criticisms of Justin Fields through the years, turning down open throws, being a little late getting through those reads and taking too many negative plays, taking too many sacks. He only got sacked 1 time. Thought he navigated the pocket well. He navigated the pocket to find completions, too. He didn't just navigate to run. He navigated to find completions a couple times. There was a couple key plays in there, including on 3rd down. So, the Jets' passing attack was impressive to me, especially for, again, we do a lot of here's the quarterback, here's the offensive line, here are the playmakers. And you try to say, does the quarterback have what he needs to succeed? You would never take this Jets group of pass catchers beyond Garrett Wilson and say, oh, yeah, of course, they're going to have an explosive passing attack. You'd say, hey, they need some better complementary pieces for Garrett Wilson. And I thought Fields, by the way, finished 16 of 22 for 218, including that touchdown. So I thought he did a good job there, and then did a nice job with his legs, designed run game. I thought Breece Hall looked outstanding. That was probably the quickest, most explosive I've seen from him in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
19 carries for 107. So we thought that might be the Jets' calling card, right? You've got Fields as a runner, you have Breece Hall as a runner. Maybe that opens things up, and there's elements of that the Jets leaned into, and it was impressive against Pittsburgh, who's supposed to have one of the fiercest pass rushes. Jalen Ramsey made 2 huge plays at the end, but other than that, the back seven was not great for Pittsburgh in this one.
Yeah, Breece Hall looked back. I mean, he looked explosive again for the first time in a long time. Add Justin Fields to that, and suddenly, they didn't do much in the game, but Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis are factors as well in this offense. Like, they both got carries at some point, and I think overall they're pretty good players. So the Jets' rushing attack should be really good this season. The fact that Garrett Wilson was dynamic and explosive, that's huge. And then if Justin Fields is able to continue this confidence as a passer, Mason Taylor made a play. This is an offense that can do some damage. Let's take a beat to give credit to that offensive line, though, particularly rookie Armand Menbu going up against T.J. Watt. Ryan Fowler on Twitter said, Jets rookie right tackle Armand Menbu pitched a shutout in his NFL debut. 26 pass protection snaps, 0 sacks, hurries, or quarterback pressures of any kind against T.J. Watt effectively. It's not, every down, it's not 1-to-1 every single down, but a rookie offensive tackle effectively shut down T.J. Watt. That's a pretty impressive performance.
The Jets' O-line was good. Olu Fashanu had some rough reps. He gave up the sack to Alex Highsmith. It was. I've always given Fashanu a ton of credit for being technically sound, but like when he's off from a technique standpoint, it's bad. Like he was way off on the Alex Highsmith sack, but there was a couple rough reps from Fashanu, but across the board it was really good for the Jets. Other side, Broderick Jones had similar ugly reps there for the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers, though, finishes with the 4 touchdowns, the no interceptions. I think the big story here is not it's partially the stat line. I think the stat line does not encapsulate how well Rodgers played. I think the 4 touchdowns
Rodgers didn't play as well as the stat line?
He did not play as well as the stat line. I think it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter a ton. I think if you're a Steelers fan, I would be excited about this next point. 4 pretty open receivers for touchdowns. Ben Skoranek wide open in the secondary. A tap pass for a touchdown. Jaylen Warren wide open in the flat. And then the final touchdown wide open behind the secondary. And I thought that was for Calvin Austin, where they used a little trickeration, moving him around. And I think Arthur Smith had a great game. I think Arthur Smith was scheming it up and creating a ton of open throws for Aaron Rodgers. They used DK Metcalf in a different way than we've generally seen DK Metcalf used in Seattle. He was used as an after the catch guy. He's taking shallow crosses, creating after the catch, takes a screen pass 30 yards. So I think Arthur Smith and some of the pass catchers had a really good game in Pittsburgh. I'll talk about Rodgers more in a second, but that was one of the big questions coming in. Could Rodgers play within someone else's system, especially this late in his career, in a whole new scheme with Arthur Smith? And I think early on, good returns for the pass game.
This was a really good combination, I think, where we saw a lot of Aaron Rodgers running the offense, right? Stuff that clearly isn't what Rodgers would call, but is Arthur Smith's offense. There was a lot of that, and a lot of it worked. And then you also saw moments in the game where they were kind of like, you know what, just go up there and shotgun and call what you like, right? Or figure it out, right? It was a good mix, I think, of them working together where Rodgers, it was a compromise. Rodgers seemed perfectly prepared to run the offense most of the time, and there were situational points in the game where Arthur Smith seemed perfectly happy to turn it over to Rodgers and let them work in combination. And if that's the way that works all the way through the year, that's huge. I mean, that was maybe the biggest question going into this is, will Rodgers work with an offensive coach and allow himself to be subsumed into the offense a bit? Or does he have to be like, look, I'm Aaron Rodgers, you brought me here to run this thing, hands off and let me do it? at least in this game, there was evidence that Rodgers is prepared to do things the way Arthur Smith wants them done, not the way Aaron wants them done the whole time. And that, I think, is massive.
Yeah, so I put this out there last night, and we've spent a lot of our careers saying, hey, look at this QB stat line. This guy was better or worse than the stat line. I think it's worth pointing out here. The 4 touchdowns, I think it was well schemed up. The 4 touchdowns, including one's a tap pass. That's essentially a run play, so we know that. I'm just saying don't get caught up in the 4 touchdowns and no picks.
He also threw the ball directly to Brandon Stevens, who for some reason decided to fall down rather than catch it.
There were 2. There was one, I don't know what happened. There was one over the middle of the field that he threw right to a defender. Don't know what happened on that route. And then the second one I think was more concerning because when you're watching a 40-year-old quarterback, it's
under pressure.
Right, it's how do they handle pressure. He got sacked 4 times. He wasn't really breaking free from pressure. I don't think that's going to be his thing this year. There's no denying the arm and the arm talent and what Aaron Rodgers still has. It's going to be the mobility and his ability to handle pressure. But it was a panic throw under pressure thrown right to a defender where he fell down. Again, I think his QBR was average. I don't know where the PFF grade ends up or whatever it is. I'm just telling you, when you have 2 gimme touchdowns on the goal line in particular and 2 dropped interceptions, the stat line flips in a hurry with those. And I'm bringing perspective to that. I think it bodes well for Pittsburgh, though, because I think Rodgers will actually play better in the fact that you do have Ben Skoranek running through the defense and you do have some open throws, I think is a good sign for what Pittsburgh can do offensively. Or maybe the Jets' defense, other than Sauce Gardner, is awful because they were picking on Brandon Stevens, which, we saw last year with Baltimore when Stevens was there as well.
Yeah, the fact that the offense generally was functioning was a really important thing. Calvin Austin, I think, was a really encouraging thing for Pittsburgh in this game. Like, we've been wondering, DK Metcalf deployment of DK Metcalf, number 1. Pretty interesting thing. That looks like it could be a really good thing for them. Number 2, we've been wondering, outside of DK, who's going to be a receiver for Aaron Rodgers? Does he have anybody else? Is this good enough? Well, Calvin Austin all of a sudden emerges as like a dynamic threat. Undersized receiver, but the dude is fast. He's explosive. He can make plays. He's not bad at the catch point either. If Rodgers, for some reason, decides to take a shine to Calvin Austin, it's like, that's a guy I really trust. I'm going to feed him the football. I think that would be a huge thing for Pittsburgh. The one concern I would have is, so that play, should have been interception to Brandon Stevens, where he's kind of under pressure, throws it away. There's a guy behind Brandon Stevens on the sideline. He just never really had a shot to get the ball there. Bad throw, should have been picked off. That's a concern because that's a repeatable play in terms of, look, the Rodgers at his age, the thing that he's going to struggle with now is escapability. And number 2, that was the last of a series of plays where Broderick Jones at left tackle just got his ass handed to him by Will McDonald. Broderick Jones is going to be a problem for this offense all the way through the season, and that problem is going to produce plays like that, which is like the one area where Rodgers at his current 40-plus-year-old self is not Aaron Rodgers. So that's the one, the area. There's a lot of areas of optimism for the Steelers offense. The one area of concern is their left tackle's a turnstile, and Rodgers can't have that at this point in his career.
All right, man, Steelers get the win, 34-32. By the way, here's the other part of it. I mean, there was a lot of bounces of the ball in this. On the game-winning drive, I thought Rodgers, he had 2 game-winning drive attempts. I thought he was forcing passes, and but to set up the 60-yarder, he just kind of chucked it down the field. He had a chance to maybe take something underneath, get into field goal, make it an easier field goal. He didn't. Chris Boswell kicks the 60-yarder to win it, and you also had
good from a mile further. By the way,
and you also had the pass before that got tipped 3 times and landed in DK Metcalf's hands for a first down to set it up, right? So I didn't think the game management was great from Rodgers down the stretch, but he got bailed out by a 60-yard field goal. I did it. It's week 1. I'm already pissing off Steelers fans.
Oh, absolutely.
Be encouraged, Steelers fans, that the offense could put up that many points with getting away with some stuff. I would be a little concerned about the defense, but look, I think they should be much better on paper going forward.
They should. Their defense didn't play well at all. The secondary in particular got kind of wrecked. One last interesting thing from this game for me, Sauce Gardner was tracking DK Metcalf. He hadn't done that in his career, basically, up until this point. He's apparently been agitating for it for a while. Yeah. Like, all these corners want to be like, no, let me track the guy. Now, it was funny because, like, on the one hand, he was tracking him. On the other hand, DK had a bunch of plays, half of which weren't against Sauce Gardner. So it's like, at what point is that irrelevant? I'm tracking him, but I'm still not. It's still zone coverage. I'm not actually covering him necessarily on this play. You know what I mean? It's slightly weird. But anyway, they are using Sauce Gardner as a true number one.
And he was good
shadow corner
in that role. DK dropped one on a shallow, I think, right? And then Sauce broke up a couple passes in there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other side was an issue for the Jets. All right. We good with that game?
Mm-hmm.
All right. FanDuel's getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. Bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines. Whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/CTM to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel.com/CTM. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
I'm told that anyone asking how to get to the memberships for us, where's the instructions that I was given that I've lost already? Go to the channel, and where you see subscribe, if you click join, you can find all the information for the memberships. 3 tiers, the middle of which gets your name up on the studio over there. It's right on the wall.
Yeah. The $9.99 tier, you get the name up on the wall. And a reminder, I'm going to remind this.
Like your own brick, you know? Like you're dedicating or buying a brick in a hospital, except it's the CTM studio.
Like buying a brick. And I'll remind everybody every single time.
There it is. See,
look at those names. Look at those.
If you want a different name than whatever your YouTube whatnot name is, then you're going to have to email us in to do that. Check the mic at the33team.com. We'll also have better imagery, by the way, when it's light outside and, that room isn't, or that corner isn't just a black hole.
Looks all right. Looks all right to me. And I'll remind everybody, the show remains free. The main show, these are all added perks.
Mm-hmm.
Added perks in the chat, name on the wall, maybe a few extra shows, bonus opportunities, and of course the Howard Hughes Billionaire tier. Yeah. All sorts of added perks in there. So go check it out if you guys are interested. All right, let's go. Washington Commanders 21, New York Giants 6. Commanders move to 1-0. Giants fall to 0-1. Pretty handily. Commanders win pretty handily here against the Giants. Had control of this game for the most part. It was 14-6 late. Deebo Samuel with a touchdown, 19-yard run for Deebo to make it the 2-score game and seal the deal. I didn't check, but was every game one possession into the fourth, besides
Miami, Indy?
I mean, Miami, Indy wasn't. Jacksonville wasn't. Everything else, maybe Green Bay and Detroit. Those 3 games that were not at least within one possession into the fourth quarter. And most of them finished within one possession. It was a very competitive week, but this was one of the games where it felt like the Commanders were in hand, had the game in hand for the majority of it.
Yeah, it was a weirdly close game that ended up finally getting to the score, I think, that probably should have been for most of it. Washington were, I think, comfortably the better team. Deebo Samuel looked really good. Like, that was a question. He showed up to Washington looking hefty. Then had to spend some time on the treadmill, working his way into shape, and apparently has done that pretty successfully, because this looked like vintage Deebo Samuel. Rushing threat, receiving threat, like dynamic. Terry McLaurin is still a big play threat. Jaden Daniels looks pretty spectacular. Washington looked pretty good.
They did. I mean, are you telling me that Deebo ran one route at half speed in May?
I mean, no. I think I think he legitimately was out of shape when he rocked up to Washington. Like, I think he himself kind of admitted that, and I was saying it in a kind of facetious manner, but he did legitimately have to get himself on a treadmill and lose whatever it was, 5, 6, 7 pounds. But obviously he did that, and it's not a problem.
Yeah, the Washington offense only 21 points. They kind of screwed up at the end of the half as well. Jaden Daniels, it looked like a bit of a miscommunication maybe on the route, but Jaden Daniels takes an intentional grounding, and then the clock runs out on that play, and they left 3 points on the board. So they only scored 21 officially, but I thought Washington's offense looked pretty efficient. Daniels played well, missed one open deep ball to Terry McLaurin, but similar. He just scrambles at the right time. There's a couple plays where pass protection broke down. There was a really nice Brian Burns play against rookie right tackle Josh Connerly. I thought Connerly held up well overall, but Burns got him, pretty bad on one. And there was multiple Washington drops that would have been first down. So I thought they could have played a cleaner game on that side of the ball. I thought Daniels was good, and I thought they did a nice job. I mean, the hype from me for the Giants, not that I'm expecting them to make a playoff run or anything, but I thought they'd be more competitive because of that front four. And I thought Washington
looked good generally.
But I thought Washington did a good job of not letting them tee off, right? Even like when it was second and long, they were using a little play action. They were slowing them down. I don't think we got an opportunity to really see the Giants tee off. There was a couple really nice rushes, as I said, from Burns. Abdul Carter got in there. Dexter Lawrence made his plays. There's a few plays in there. But overall, the pass rush didn't make the same kind of impact, I think, that they could on a down-to-down basis.
No, I mean, I think their front four was disruptive, but it wasn't enough. Like the rest of the defense wasn't able to make the plays, and Washington just had too many answers, which is a good sign for them, obviously.
Run game-wise, you did see Corey Krosky-Merritt.
Bill made plays.
Really nice touchdown.
It's almost like being number 4 in the depth chart was meaningless.
Oh, they were messing with everybody. So Debo's 2 carries were, misdirection, some trickeration where he looked good, including the 19-yard run. I thought Krosky-Merritt added exactly what they were hoping for. He had a 42-yard run late added there, but he had a nice touchdown where he bounced out when he needed to, showed quickness, followed his blockers, good cutting. I thought Krosky-Merritt looked good and will continue to get more carries in this offense.
Yeah, and led the team in carries from a running back, right? I mean, I think Jaden Daniels had more carries officially, but Bill was basically RB1 for them, not RB4.
Yeah. No, that was good. And then on the other side, they did a nice job. Washington's defense did a nice job slowing down the Giants' rushing attack. I thought Washington's defensive line has been a concern for me. I thought Javon Kinlaw, one of their big free agent signings, he has never been a great run defender. He was excellent at the point of attack. Him, Daron Payne. I thought the defensive tackles played pretty well for Washington. Kinlaw was Mr. Week 1 for me, Sam. He did that a couple years ago. I thought he had completely turned the corner. Wasn't exactly there, but he was disruptive. Bobby Wagner, his usual excellent play in and around the line of scrimmage. So I thought Washington made the Giants one-dimensional offensively, and then the Giants' offense kind of looked like it has, right? Malik Neighbors has big play potential. Everything else, the Wan'Dale Robinson underneath stuff that to nowhere. It was, just nothing from the Giants offense on the other side.
Well, it's like, so Washington, I think, did a pretty good job of getting pressure and causing problems and disrupting Russell Wilson. I think Wilson can still escape a lot of that. But the problem, so vintage Russell Wilson, he escapes the pressure, he runs around for a while, and then he finds like a deep heave to DK Metcalf or whoever the wide receiver is at the other end, right? He's still kind of able to do that, but I don't know if I think the league is just better at defending that now. So Malik Neighbors, I mean, I think it was 4 or 5 contested targets to him deep down the field. I think he came up with one of them. It's like, it's just a low percentage shot. You know what I mean? Like Russell Wilson is still very good at getting that ball in the vague direction of his receiver. But if the receiver's not going to make at least 50% of those plays, which is not an easy thing to do, 50% in terms of like contested target rate deep down the field is a good number. Like if you're not able to hit at 1 out of every 2 of those, you're dead. Like you need at least 50% of those just to keep the chains moving. So that's kind of what it felt like. Outside of those plays, there's not that much to this offense. And if you don't get enough of those plays, they're just not going to move the ball.
Yeah, so that's where it was. I mean, there's already rumblings. Every week we're going to hear this. They're asking
1 week.
Brian Daboll, is Russell Wilson your starter going forward? We're going to assess it. It's earlier than I expected, right? A lot of times, we've seen this with a lot of rookie quarterbacks where the veteran, you get to the press conference after the veteran had a poor game. It's like, no, that guy's our starter. We're rolling with him. We didn't get that yet from Daboll. So I'm not saying Russ isn't going to start going forward, but Jackson Dart watch is at least on right now.
Remember, though, look, I'm not defending Russell Wilson necessarily, but no Andrew Thomas, the one good player from that offensive line. Left tackle becomes a problem spot immediately before you even step foot onto the field. He did give his wide receiver one, Malik Neighbors, chances to make a bunch more plays than he actually made. I mean, Russell Wilson, I don't think played well in this game. I don't think he was the problem either. I don't see a world in this game where if you just take Russell Wilson out of the lineup, put Jackson Dart in there, it immediately goes better.
I mean, they had Tyrone Tracy had 10 carries for 24 yards, and their backs averaged about 2 yards per carry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Russell Wilson was the leading rusher with 44 yards. I mean, they didn't have much of a run game. Russ, by the way, finished 17 of 37 for 168. And so, yeah, it was inefficient. And the Wandale stuff, 6 catches for 55. Yeah, it was what we've seen from the Giants offense in recent years.
Yeah, which is to say not good.
Which was, not good. Commanders defense, though, I thought they did a nice job, played well up front, and made some plays on the back end as well.
I will credit the Giants for trying to run a trick play to Marcus Bowe in the end zone, though. Their tackle. That was fun. It didn't work, but it was fun.
You wanted to give them credit
why not?
For doing something fun.
I mean, look, the offense isn't working. Let's throw a ball to the tackle. Let's give that a shot. Creativity. I like it.
Was there anything else? There was one play where I think the Giants, they sacked Jaden Daniels. They got him 3 times. There was one play where I think it was Thibodeau, maybe Abdul Carter, and Dexter Lawrence. They all won at the same time. And I'm not saying that's going to happen every down. I'm not saying that's going to happen 10 times a game. But it just kind of showed their potential.
Yeah.
Where there's 3 wins, and that was one of the few times Jaden Daniels held the ball. I thought he did a really nice job working quickly. On his non-scrambles, he was getting rid of the ball pretty quickly, negating the potential for that pass rush. So I thought Daniels played a good, quick, efficient game. But the Giants' pass rush was, I thought, overall negated outside of a couple plays in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell when you're done. You have no more use for this game?
No, it's done.
Jacksonville Jaguars get the win after the lightning delay. 26-10 win over the Carolina Panthers. This game started and then stopped. Lightning delay for about an hour and a half. Again, Jags had this in control for the majority of it. Battle of the number 1 picks. Bryce Young with an ugly stat line for Carolina, 18 of 35 for 154, including 2 interceptions. He had a fumble in there that he lost. And then on the other side, I thought Jags run game, you get Travis Etienne with 143 yards on 16 carries, including a 71-yarder in there. A few big plays in there for Jacksonville, I think, was the big difference.
Yeah, I've already seen the takes of, was Bryce Young ever really good? The overreaction Monday, Bryce Young comes out with not a great game. It's like, he's back to benchable Bryce Young. And was he ever good in the first place? Look at his stats late last year. Was it just like, he'd set the bar so low that suddenly he was looking good relative to that? It's overreaction season. Bryce Young did not play particularly well in this game. By the way, as a baseball person, does this happen every year? This lightning delays seem to have been the theme of the summer in the U.S. The Club World Cup and soccer was like a lightning delay every 6 minutes. The game the other day gets derailed. This game gets derailed. There lightning delays everywhere. Does baseball have this every year? Where we're sorry.
We have way more delays because we have rain delays. Because if it rains, lightning, of course. I can't remember how many times I've told this story, but I did have a former teammate that had been struck by lightning twice. And so if there was any semblance of lightning in the area, there was...
It's like Renner with snow. I'm out.
There was one time, he was an outfielder, and there was lightning off in the distance, and he walked off the field. He's like, he just left. And so he's like, I'm not... Third time's a charm. No way. I'm not even messing with that.
I get it. I respect that. If I've been struck by lightning twice, I wouldn't be screwing around with lightning. So he walked
off the field. And in baseball, you can't re-enter, right? Like when you come out, you're done.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he came off the field. We had to put a backup in there, and it's like, all right, you're done for the day. Go to the clubhouse.
That's probably what set us down the road of looking up that guy whose name I forget, the world record holder for being struck by lightning. Been like 9 times or something.
New audience every 7 minutes, but I've definitely brought that up on the show at some point. But we have way more rain delays, too. I mean, when rain is above a certain level, you can't play, you can't grip the ball and everything. So we have a lot of delays.
Right. But like, is this standard operating procedure in the U.S.? We get this volume of lightning every year, or has this been a weird year for lightning?
Big year for lightning.
Big year for lightning.
Yeah, I mean,
record year.
We had a T-ball lightning out. Didn't even rain. It was just all lightning. It's big year. A lot of lightning.
Lightning like you've never seen.
Year of the lightning in 2025. I don't want to defend Bryce Young. I don't think he was good. It wasn't.
No,
like
I'm not defending
year,
him. I'm just saying we probably don't need to go as far as was he ever really good at all.
I still come back to he made one of the interceptions probably should have been picked by the safety. It got tipped up, and Foye Olakun, who had a huge game by the way, makes a diving interception. Olakun comes back, does a peanut punch on Bryce Young to force the fumble. Olakun was awesome for the Jags in this game. This wasn't like deer in the headlights Bryce Young. Like last year in week 1, we were sitting here, we were like, we're not overreacting. The Panthers need to be scouting quarterbacks, right? Like the Panthers are drafting a quarterback in the top 10 next year because Bryce Young was so bad in week 1, deer in the headlights. It's awful. And it got worse in week 2, and then they benched him. And this isn't it. It's concerning on the other end of what if he's just okay? And an okay quarterback has some good games and has some bad games. What if he's not a top 10 guy and a top 12 or 15 guy? That's more of the concern, I think, for Bryce Young here.
That's a concern, and also this receiving group that, remember, for the second year in a row, it's like, well, they've massively upgraded the receiving core for Bryce Young, but what if they haven't actually, Like, what if, there's a new player there, there's new players.
McMillan looks really good.
He looked good, but Xavier Legette hasn't looked any better.
Like Bryce Young put one on Legette along the sideline. Legette only got 1 foot down. There's just no receiver feel for Legette.
Legette just does not seem to be the guy at this point. And that would be fine if they weren't still counting on him to basically be the second most important receiver in this offense. Hunter Renfrow is fine, but he's Hunter Renfrow, right? Is he an upgrade over Adam Thielen or a downgrade? Probably down. So, like for the second year in a row, it's like you've taken this receiving core that's supposed to be getting better around this quarterback that you supposedly have faith in now. And, McMillan may be better than what was there a year ago, but the rest of them aren't. And one of them is probably a downgrade of what was there a year ago. So is that, what is the net result of this receiving core versus last year's versus the year before? If it's been getting better sequentially year on year, it's been by very small steps so far. And I think they needed a bigger jump. Like this, they need... Jalen Coker coming back at some point will help that, but this group needs to help Bryce Young more than Bryce Young is helping this group at the moment.
I would also say we knew coming in Ike Ekwonu at left tackle for the Panthers could be an issue.
Yeah.
That matchup, it's usually Josh Hines-Allen on that side. That's what it was. Hines-Allen got him a bunch. Josh Nijman was the did I mention his name yet? Josh Nijman was the guy filling in for Ike Ekwonu, and Josh Hines-Allen got him a bunch with some pass rushes where he was almost untouched and in Bryce Young's face, and I think that was a factor. And I'm not saying Ike's not a great pass protector, but he's better than that. So I think if you're a Panthers fan, there's elements of this offense where if Ekwonu's back, the offensive line and pass protection's not this bad, I don't think. And there might be signs of life there. And then we just I thought the Jags defense did a really nice job overall. They were hitting hard. I thought Bryce Young threw a couple bang plays where the Jags made the receivers pay. They did a nice job there. As I said, pass rush took advantage of some of those opportunities with the backup left tackle there. And the linebackers were really good for the Jags, including Olakun, who had that huge game, made some plays in the pass game, the interception, the forced fumble, one of the best players this week, I would say, on the defensive side of the ball across the league.
Yeah, Josh Hines-Allen, I think, is a really, really good player. He's the classic poster child now for that player who's he's not defensive player of the year in any given year level. The Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, those guys who, any of those guys is probably going to go off in any given week and most of the time are going to be in the defense player of the year conversation. Then you have a tier of guys who are probably not that, but if those guys weren't in the league, we would be talking about those guys as defensive player of the year. They're elite every week, consistent pass rushing threats. And if you put a bad offensive tackle against them or a subpar average offensive tackle, they're just going to wreck shop. And that was Josh Hines-Allen in this game. Josh Nijman is not a bad player. He's a functional, serviceable, if you need him to start a couple of games in a pinch, he can do that. and the dude just had no shot against Josh Hines-Allen. That was a huge factor in this game for Jacksonville.
On the Jag side, again, I think their defense played well. 71-yarder from Travis Etienne early on, so a couple big plays in there. Overall, I thought the offense was inconsistent, though. Trevor Lawrence had a pick on 2nd and long when you're up a couple scores that kind of misread the underneath defenders trying to hit Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter finishes with 5 catches? Was it? I didn't have it right in front of me as I started talking. 6 catches for 33 yards. What are your thoughts on how they're using Travis Hunter? So of his 6 catches, there was 2 or 3 screens in there, a lot of slot option routes where he's catching the ball over the middle, trying to make a guy miss, but 6 catches for 33 yards. They tried him down the field once or twice. One of them was this deep over route where Lawrence didn't see J.C. Horn sinking. J.C. Horn makes a beautiful interception there. Horn had a huge game, by the way. Did a nice job on Brian Thomas Jr., and then had this interception as well. Thoughts on Travis Hunter and how he was used? Mostly on offense, had about 6 or 7 snaps on defense.
So that was going to be my question. I think the offensive usage is fine, other than the fact that it didn't have a huge amount of success in this game overall. I mean, Jacksonville, period, did not have a huge amount of passing success. Like they didn't put up a ton of yardage in that aspect. How I saw he had like half a dozen snaps on defense. Was there any logic to those, or was it just somebody needed to rest? Let's get Travis out there for a snap or 2.
I didn't go back and watch that specifically.
Because that's obviously, like, that's this two-way player thing. I mean, 6 snaps a game is, I mean, he was coming back off injury. I'm assuming they're easing him back a little bit. And by the way, like, he's got to be better. I mean, it's easier when you stack up the wide receiver depth chart and say, where does he fit in? He's got to be better than the corners. Right.
And if he's not, then you don't squeeze him in there yet.
Sure. I'm just saying this is not, there are players that have had roles similar to this in the past. This is not the unique special, like, oh, he can be a two-way player, he can do everything. This is the very low end of that scale relative to expectations so far. It's been 1 game. Maybe that will scale up as we go. But right now, he's a wide receiver that will play a couple of snaps on defense every now and again.
Yeah, Tyson Campbell did a nice job. He had a big pass breakup on 4th down. You've got Jordan Lewis, had a nice interception off a tip pass. And so, yeah, sneaking into the lineup on that side of the ball, I think might be a little tricky for Travis Hunter at the moment. So I don't know if I love him as a two-way go shifty slot receiver. He's okay at that. One of the screen passes killed his average. Lawrence's accuracy was off again. Brian Thomas Jr. was 1 for 7 targeting Brian Thomas Jr. There was very first play of the game. He threw it up, tight coverage from J.C. Horn. It was actually almost picked. BTJ had a drop. Then he was open at least 2 other times where Lawrence just missed him. And then there was one where Lawrence put it on him, but kind of high, and Brian Thomas Jr. had to leave his feet to catch it. Got forced out. They were off as far as connection goes. But I thought Lawrence's accuracy was not great in this one. So everything I said in the preseason about, hey, maybe this will turn the corner, we didn't see that necessarily in week 1.
That's the thing. Jacksonville overall looked really good. The defense made some plays. The running game looked fantastic. Travis Etienne had a great game.
O-line looked good for they've got some questions up front. I thought they pass protected well, and the Panthers' pass rush was non-existent like it was last year.
So the line looked good. Etienne looks like the alpha back in that backfield and was explosive, was the kind of player that you're supposed to be coming out of college. They've got receiving weapons. The defense looked good. Trevor Lawrence was the one guy that didn't seem to be any better in this Liam Cohen offense. Like the guy that theoretically the whole offense should be designed around fixing, right? Like Trevor Lawrence is going to be the next Baker Mayfield, the guy that gets the Liam Cohen bump. So far, very little evidence of that.
Did we give enough positives for the winning team here for the Jags? You said the rest of the team was good, but look, Lawrence, I think it was 20-3 at the time when he threw the pick. It was pretty good disguise by the Panthers, the way JC was sinking on the ball on the play, but they kind of gave the Panthers a little bit of opportunity in life there. And so, I thought Lawrence was the weakness in this game for the Jags.
Which is not the first time that's been the case.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
I mean, it's not.
But they're 1-0. They got the win, 26-10.
Like, it's weird because even describing the sort of vibes around Trevor Lawrence is difficult. Like, Scott Hansen on Red Zone yesterday said something like, Trevor Lawrence, and then was basically trying to say has been a bit of a disappointment recently, and ended up saying whose performance that you wanted to see boosted by Liam Cohen and his offense was not yet.
Anything else on this game?
Nah.
Get no more use for it. Tampa Bay Bucks 23, Atlanta Falcons 20. This was a fun fourth quarter, back and forth game. Scoring started slow, but man, lots to discuss here. Baker Mayfield, though, with the game-winning touchdown to Emeka Egbuka, 25-yarder. The rookie first-rounder from Ohio State, Egbuka, with 2 touchdowns in this game. Both really nice throws from Baker, which was part of my scouting report on Egbuka. It's almost like he induces big-time throws from his quarterback. I don't know what that is. I just feel like quarterbacks throw absolute dimes to him, and he's really good. And so he had those 2 touchdowns. Younghoe Koo misses a game-tying field goal.
Time to put the German kid in.
That would have put this game into overtime. So a lot to discuss here. What were your thoughts on this game as the Bucs go 1-0 here?
Yeah, this is one of the games of the week. It was fun. Back and forth. Both teams had a shot late. A lot of interesting things to talk about in the game. Awesome game. I think the first thing was, okay, Tampa Bay goes into the game. We know Tristan Wirfs is down hurt at left tackle for a little bit. What do? It turns out they don't just put the next guy up at left tackle. They basically shuffle the entire offensive line heading into this game. It was bizarre. Graham Barton goes out to left tackle. College tackle, had been an NFL center. So that's immediately changing 2 positions instead of 1.
I wasn't expecting that. I don't know if that was known in the media ahead of the game.
But then in addition to that, their solution to the center, like now you've opened up a hole at center, so you've made, you're changing 2 positions instead of 1. Well, they decided, how do you make that even worse? Well, let's take the guard and make him play center. So now you're changing 3 positions to change 1 position. Like, wild
But
decision.
I think Graham Barton might be their best left tackle.
Sure. I mean, I think it's a creative solution. I don't hate it, but it's like normally, offensive line is the one kind of unit group in the NFL where there's legitimate, demonstrable power to continuity, right? The fewer things you have to change, the better, always. Like to the point where you should re-sign an average player if it just means you can keep the same 5 guys out there. There's legitimate value to that. And instead, the Bucs were like, nah. Rather than what are the fewest things we can change, we're going to change like the maximum number of things we could possibly change to fit 1 position.
I thought Barton held up well overall. By the way, remember, as a draft prospect, as you said, he was a left tackle at Duke. Daniel Jeremiah and others called him a 5-position player, which was his value. I think a lot of people valued him as a guard, and obviously the Bucs and other teams liked him as a center. So it's not crazy that he kicked out to left tackle. He got bull rushed a couple times, including rookie James Pierce. I think got him twice, almost folded him up. But overall, I thought he held up pretty well. It was a fun game to rewatch, too. I thought Baker Mayfield in the passing offense, the Falcons' defense did a really nice job early on. They were bringing linebackers. Divine Diablo had some really nice plays, both as a pass rusher and in coverage. Caden Ellis. They're filled with these hybrid type of players. Diablo was a safety in college. Caden Ellis is a linebacker conversion from edge. We know what Jalen Walker is as a first-round pick, edge/linebacker. He didn't do a ton, but they used him in the rotation. James Pierce as a pass rusher. So a lot of trickeration up front, sending linebackers. I thought the Bucs had some issues with that early on. Baker Mayfield was off. I think he was 0 for his first 6 throwing the ball. But then they settled down. I think the Bucs used play action, used empty a little bit more. They found a way to just make a few more plays. Baker also hit defenders' hands with like 3 or 4 passes. Xavier Watts and Ellis had his hands on a couple. He got away with some, but made the big plays when he really needed to, which includes both of those Emeka Egbuka touchdowns and some key scrambles from Baker Mayfield as well. Anytime the Falcons lost their gap control, Baker did a pretty nice job making plays with his legs, which is what he's done these last couple of years as starter.
There was one where he had a ridiculous throw it right to a defender type of play, and then was almost like staring down the guy, and then I think the next play makes a big play, scrambling, picks up a first down. It's like, God, you've got to come up with those when they're thrown your way.
So Baker, he finished 17 of 32 for 167, so not a ton of yards, but 3 touchdowns and no picks. The 2 touchdowns were beauties to Egbuka. The other one to Bucky Irving in the flat. Bucky had a tough time getting anything going on the ground, but really nice catch and effort to dive for the pylon for that touchdown. But yeah, I thought Baker had 2, 3, 4 interception opportunities where the Falcons, in their game, from their perspective, as far as missed opportunities go, I think they left some opportunities on the table. I came away kind of encouraged by the Falcons' defense. I don't know. James Pierce had some nice rushes in there. Walker, not as much. I think he still needs to refine his game as a pass rusher, but I like the way they use their linebackers, and I think they can cause some problems for opposing offenses the way they deploy their hybrid type players up front.
Yeah, they've got they have some horses that can do damage. You've been for a while wondering where the explosive plays are for Bijan Robinson.
It's the pass game.
Yeah, not apparently on the ground again, but dude, every time that guy caught a pass, a check down, a dump from the backfield, like the first move he makes after he gets the ball in his hands is always like destroys the first defender.
So the first defender happened to be Servassier Dennis, and it felt like the entire Falcons offense depended on him. The Falcons got nothing going on the ground. Bijan and Algier both had 24 yards. They combined for 22 carries for 48 yards.
That's not great.
Dennis is a very good run defender. You saw him blowing up plays in the backfield. He was very good working downhill. The Bucs run defense, Vita Vea, tough to move, the whole deal. But when Dennis was one-on-one with Bijan Robinson, that was the long touchdown. And then he bit on, I don't know what he bit on. He just left Bijan wide open. But Bijan finished with 6 catches for 100 yards, including a 50-yarder. So, yeah, it felt like the Falcons' offense was dependent on whether or not whatever Dennis did, right? He was a hammer in the run game, helped slow them down, but he was a liability in coverage, and Bijan Robinson and the Falcons took advantage of that.
Yeah, again, when he's done this before, like in his sort of previous career highlight, but so often, if you can get the ball to him in the pass game, in space, if he's one-on-one with a defender, that guy has got no shot of making the play. Like that first move paralyzes him every time with just absurd quickness.
So other notes that I had, what else did I have here? Elijah Wilkinson holding up for the Falcons. I thought he did fine. He did give up a sack on 3rd and 4. So it all came down to, at the end of the game, Falcons have a go-ahead drive. It's 4th and goal from the 4.
Yeah. Well, this whole late game was weird. There was terrible offsetting call late in the game that let Atlanta get in for their score. They had like a legitimate hold, right? So their side of the offsetting thing, like bad hold, should have been backing them up. And meanwhile, Tampa Bay had what looked like a horrible defensive pass interference call on Bijan Robinson in the end zone. So that like one legit call, one very not legit call, and suddenly it's do-over. And then Atlanta, I think, scored on the next play, or maybe scored certainly in that sequence. Like that, I hate that. That's as bad as like the official just calls whatever defense pass interference and changes the game that way.
Bucs had 2 roughing the penalty calls too on one of those final drives for the Falcons. Bucs had 2 roughing calls. One was Vita Vea. I don't remember the second one, but there was
had one
on the other end. Yeah, he had a bad play for the Falcons. But I'm
Right.
saying the Bucs defense had 2 roughing calls, I think, on the same drive for against the Falcons. But Michael Penix Jr. on 4th and goal from the 4 reaches the ball barely across the goal line. Reminded me, of course, Sam, of the 2020 game when he was in Indiana. That was the closest play I've ever seen at the goal line. Michael Penix reaching on, I think it was a 2-point conversion against Penn State to win the game. Anyway, so it looked like Penix was going to be the hero there, but Mayfield to Ibuka with the game winner in the Bucs. They struggled against the Falcons last year. I picked the Falcons because of the success that the Falcons offense had against Todd Bowles and the Bucs defense. But the Bucs getting over that hump is huge and they're the defending division champs against the team that's probably going to be most competitive against them. So it ends up being a huge win here for the Bucs.
And even after the go-ahead score, Atlanta's driving to try and answer and does a pretty good job of it. And then they get super aggressive. They're not going for the field goal. They're going for the touchdown. And honestly, Antoine Winfield Jr. saves the game for them. They had a play. I forget who was doing the broadcast, but they were like, Zach Robinson comes, from the Sean McVay tree. Those guys are aggressive in these situations. They're not going to watch a shot over the top. They're going to go for the touchdown. Literally, like the next 2 the two next plays, I think, not just one, were both shots deep. And one of them, Jamel Dean's like on the floor. He gets wrecked, and Winfield gets across and just breaks it up to save a touchdown. That's
huge
the game.
Play.
By the way,
huge play.
I'm always fascinated by this now. Like you've got, things like PFF WAR that try and quantify sort of on a play-by-play basis over the course of a season, random player is worth 0.8 wins above replacement, right? Winfield individually has been responsible for at least 3 plays I can think of in the last 2 years that have genuinely been the difference between winning and losing a football game. So
he was forcing fumbles like at the goal line.
That's
against
3.
Desmond Ridder a couple years ago.
That's 3 wins above replacement player based off 3 snaps. Now it doesn't work that way.
That's not really how it works at all.
No, but it in a ridiculous way, it actually does. You know what I mean? Like mathematically, that's not the way that works. And yet, Winfield has individually been the difference between winning and losing 3 football games. Like I don't know how you square that circle because you take him off the team and everything else plays out exactly the same. They lose 3 more games in the last 2 years.
Shout out to Greg Graves, who joined as a super fan here. Appreciate all the membership ads here within the chat. But yeah, Winfield making some big plays and saved another one.
And then Koo misses the kick.
Yeah, and then Koo misses. So the Falcons were going for the win. They settle for a game-tying field goal. Koo misses, and last year he did have some issues.
And they have
with his misses.
They have one of these IPP kickers stashed on the practice squad. German kid called Lenny Krieg, I think. He was the guy that at the combine I think had a perfect workout, like didn't miss a kick in the entire combine practices. His first kick in preseason was a 57-yarder that he made plenty to spare right down the middle. I don't know how long it takes you to be comfortable in a kicker, once you see this guy like fresh from nothing, because I think a lot of these guys getting opportunities is just confidence in them. But suddenly your star kicker seems to have reached that patch where he's kind of forgotten how to kick consistently. And you do have an option sitting there.
You were making the point on last night's show. Your theory here is because kickers, the difference between 60 and 50 is much smaller than it's ever been. You're saying you think teams are going to start going for the touchdown because they don't care about kicking a 58 or a 60-yard field goal. And it does feel like a lot of the kicking issues across the league yesterday, or Jake Moody, or Harrison Butker missed an extra point for Kansas City, everything the Browns did, Koo missing a field goal. Are we in this world where there are some kickers who are more comfortable, say, with their driver than with their 4-iron, say, right? They're more comfortable from longer distance, and they're getting a little, getting the yips as they get closer.
I don't think it's that. I think it's just kickers are always going to miss kicks, and they're always going to develop the yips, and it's always a confidence thing. But I do think that now that we've just pushed the range out so far, like there used to be a world where kickers were automatic effectively inside of 40, and once you started to push the edge of their range, it was like that's when they start getting iffy, and they might miss when you have a shot from the 50s, right? But they had the leg to get there, but getting it there required changing the mechanics or, putting 100% into it, 110% into it, and that's where things started to get squirrely. Now you're getting kickers that can make a 70-yard kick with room to spare. I just think that's changing the math late in the game. Now, it doesn't mean that, like, you can have a guy that still goes out there and misses from 36, but that guy could come back the next play and still be good from 65. Like 65, 55, 45, it's no different anymore. I think maybe the numbers are still going to go down the further out you get, but not to a massive degree. I think we just reached a point now where the end of game math is going to start changing for everybody because you no longer have to even pass midfield to attempt a game-winning kick. So if you have a 4th down decision late in the game, let's say there's 2 minutes left on the clock, you're trying to go, well, do I go for this 4th and 2 or do I punt it away, give the other team an opportunity with 2 minutes to go, blah, 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 to try and take the lead? That team needs to move, let's say you decide to punt and you kick it and you pin them inside the 5. They only need to get it like 35, 40 yards for them to have a shot at a kick. Okay, it's a 70-yarder, but like apparently that's doable now.
Yeah, you have a shot.
So
there's good weather.
But there's no longer any downside to going for it because the worst thing that can happen is you go for it, they're in field goal range, right? The second you don't get it and they get the ball, they're already in field goal range. So either way, you have to stop them, right? the worst thing that can happen is they kick the field goal, and then you only need to get to midfield to attempt a 70-yarder to answer. So you might as well at this point, because all the upside is in going for it on fourth down and keeping the ball and not letting them have an opportunity.
Just go for everything.
Now, if you can attempt a 70-yard field goal, your defense has no shot because they have to literally hold them the first series, at which point, again, you might as well give them the chance then because the same thing is true. You're no longer like differentiating the assignment on defense.
Anything else on Bucks Falcons?
No.
All right, quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors, so after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or if you lock your keys in your car, Root will help cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. All right, we got the Arizona Cardinals 20, New Orleans Saints 13. I don't know where we're pacing right now, but it's pacing. Cardinals get the win here, 20-13 over the Saints, 1-0 Cardinals. Saints had an opportunity, though.
Yeah.
They were down 10. They get within 7, and they had 4 shots from the 18-yard line. And 3 shots from the 18-yard line. They spike it, 3 incomplete passes to end the game, including one that got to Juwan Johnson's hands. To his hands. It was broken up late by Budda Baker. Pretty nice job by Spencer Rattler, giving the Saints an opportunity to win there. A little overthrow in the last one, but Cardinals come away with the win here. What were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, well, let's start with the end and go backwards. I mean, Rattler makes the play. He got it to Johnson in the end zone, and honestly, it felt even more like less of a pass breakup and more he just kind of lost it on the way down. Like he had it.
I didn't see the replay. I thought Baker had his hands in there. I don't know what ended up happening.
Got in his hands and just could not secure it on the way down.
The previous play, really quick, was interesting because Juwan Johnson ran a deep out at about the 2-yard line, and that one was dropped. And if he had caught it, the game was probably over because they didn't have any timeouts. And so I don't know if he knew, like, hey, I need to drop this. But if that ball had been caught, the game was over. Then there's the seam that gets to his hands and whatever, it's incomplete. And then overthrown the end zone to Chris Olave on fourth down.
And the spike that you mentioned was kind of interesting as well because the Cardinals defense looked wrecked at that point.
Yeah.
Like they were struggling on that by the time they got to that drive.
You're saying if
there was 40 seconds odd left.
If Rattler's feeling that, he might fake it, chuck
spike.
it up, or just
keep
go.
that deep.
Yeah.
Like as soon as they make the spike. Suddenly, Arizona's defense looked absolutely gassed because they'd been on the field for a bit in that final drive. They get to substitute in, and I think they got pressure on the very next play. But like, I don't know if he has the authority to do that or if that's a call for. But somebody, I think, might have looked at that and said, "We want the specific defensive group that's out there right now to stay the hell out there, and let's try and push them with the next play or two, and keep our foot on the gas." Instead, they spike it. They get a chance to like get that defense rest for a second, and then they have the shots at the end zone.
Other stories in this game, much like last year, the Cardinals' passing attack, majority of it was Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. They finished with 132 of the 163 receiving yards for the Cardinals. I thought, we'll talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray. There was a couple, they made some really nice plays. A 45-yard bomb where Kyler Murray throws a bit of a rainbow deep ball, moon ball even, where Marvin Harrison, I thought, nice job tracking, separating late. I thought he looked a little quicker this year today.
That's the muscle mass.
The muscle mass. Yeah, I thought he looked.
It's quick twitch muscle.
Like he's not twitchy. He'll never be twitchy, but I thought he looked a little cleaner. In and out of breaks, ran a really nice slant, Marvin Harrison, on 3rd and 11. Created big separation, got the first down there. And there was 2 other miscommunication-y type of plays. I don't think we're overrating this too much, but there was one where Harrison was behind the defense, which could have been a 97-yard touchdown, And it's either Kyler either missed him by a mile, or the post angle that Harrison ran was just a miscommunication again. But there was that one, and then there was another one where, again, is Kyler that inaccurate? I don't know. But Marvin Harrison Jr. ran more of a slant, and Kyler threw more of like a stop route. And so the two incompletions, one was negated, but the two of them they seemed to be not on the same page, but they did connect it more often than not in this game.
What's funny about that is most of the time when you get these quarterback wide receiver dynamics where they're just not on the same page, the default assumption is it's the receiver's fault, right? Like the quarterback knows what he's doing. The receiver, for some reason, isn't on the same page. That's probably a failing of his, right? This is the one where you kind of start to get the feeling it might be Kyler. I'm starting to think that Kyler's the problem more than Marvin Harrison Jr. is. But whatever it is, it remains a problem. Like they're not on the same page in a way that an elite wide receiver quarterback combination needs to be. I mean, what did I message you yesterday? That Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams have better chemistry than Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr., and they basically haven't practiced together yet because, old man Stafford's been on the shelf with a bad back for the entire time. Like, I don't know how many practices they've thrown the ball towards each other, but, like, it's a couple.
And that was a beautiful back shoulder, Stafford to Devontae Adams, which we'll get to in a couple hours here. So yeah, we're not trying to like nitpick here. I just think there's a ton of potential there still. And a lot of people that listen to us play fantasy and, care about their receivers and their stats and everything. Like, I thought Marvin Harrison Jr. played a really good game here.
Yeah.
They ran goal line mesh where he came open for a wide open touchdown. I love the way he tracked the deep ball. And like I said, the deep post, which ended up being a defensive penalty, I mean, he was open there as well. So I thought he played a good game. He also forced a pass interference on Kool-Aid on another play. So he played well. McBride, it was a two-man show as far as the pass game goes. Backup running back Trey Benson had a big 52-yard run in there. I know a lot of people, James Conner's been fantastic the last couple of years. People want to see more of Trey Benson in his second year. So he made that one big play. And then rookie cornerback Will Johnson made a ton of plays in this game for the Cardinals. Remember, we talked about their draft where they got Walter Nolan in the first, we haven't seen yet, but Will Johnson, who was supposed to go top 15, they get him in the second due to injury concerns and maybe speed concerns. He broke up two passes to Rashid Shaheed, and he also absolutely obliterated Chris Olave
That's
in the backfield.
Speedster Rashid Shaheed, albeit coming back off an injury, but
it is
like a fast guy was a player who's making plays
just
against.
Something to keep an eye on. And I know you mentioned this play to Olave, who has all these concussion issues, and he got absolutely popped by Johnson. I'm just saying, when he sees it and goes, it's as good as it gets. Will Johnson, that his ability to go downhill and to accelerate. I don't know what his top speed is. His acceleration on the ball, I think, is outstanding. And Will Johnson showed it, breaking up that little swing pass to Olave in the backfield.
Did everybody overrate how bad the Saints are? I mean, they were competitive in this game. Spencer Rattler looked pretty good. Now, he's had a couple of games like that before where he's kind of, again, like, I forget, who was it? Renner had a higher grade on Spencer Rattler than Tyler Shuck, at draft time, even though he went lower down in the draft. Like, Spencer Rattler is not an insignificant quarterback in terms of prospect or talent level. Now, obviously, he played a lot last season and it didn't look spectacular, so expectations should be limited or tamped down. But this was the kind of game where if you were looking to be convinced that Spencer Rattler could be a starting quarterback, you would be more encouraged after this game than before it.
Yeah, he was fine. I mean, I thought the offensive line did a pretty good job for him. You've got Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Juwan Johnson. You've got some guys to throw to. I don't think the Saints are. I don't think they're awful. I think I don't really trust their defense overall. Again, they fought hard here. It's more about over the long term, right? I mean, we mentioned all offseason the parity around the NFL, and I just said all but 3 games were at least a one-score game in the fourth quarter. And so being the worst team, I think that just means over time we think you're going to win 3 or 4 games. So it doesn't mean you're going to get smoked every single week. Now, look, if Miami plays like that every week, they're the worst team.
Right.
They're the worst team in the league.
Also, the Saints were one of the worst teams last year, and they won week 1 47-10. So if that's relative to a year ago, they're going to go 0-17 based off that logic.
Cardinals' perspective, though, I think the Will Johnson thing is really encouraging. NFL Gamebook had them with just 2 QB hits on about 50 dropbacks, though. They only sacked Rattler once. That would be a bit of a concern. That's supposed to be the thing where Arizona improved quite a bit, and they're going to go from the smoke and mirrors, let's create a pass rush, to trusting. I thought Josh Sweat,
It was basically just him.
Yeah,
that got
Baron
pressure.
Browning he had a sack. Josh Sweat created some pressure, but it's not there yet, and just something to keep an eye on for the Cardinals. And I picked them in Survivor because I thought they'd be better rushing the passer. So I survived that. By the way, Harry took the Bucs in Survivor.
Almost nobody had a sweat-free. Like, unless you picked the Colts, you were probably sweating out Survivor. I picked the Bengals because I don't learn lessons. And that required Cleveland, doing Cleveland things late in the game to survive that. Tampa Bay required, late miracle, missed kick. Like, every team that you would have thought, I mean, Ian Hartitz was tweeting out he had Denver in the Survivor pool, which I think was the most, that was the widest, sort of most confident pick anybody had. And, Denver versus Tennessee was a sweat as well.
One other note on this game, we had two friends, one old friend and one new friend on the call on this game. Old friend Ross Tucker on the call. Always enjoy Ross. And new teammate Logan Ryan. New teammate here at the 33rd team. Logan Ryan, his new show with Cynthia Freeland called NFL IQ, all part of the 33rd team here. We're going to have Logan and I believe Cynthia both on the show on Wednesday to do a little week one recap, talk NFL storyline. So Logan Ryan and Cynthia Freeland teaming up for a new show here at the 33rd team that you guys need to check out, especially on YouTube here. Go find it, NFL IQ, and hit the subscribe button to that. But we'll have Logan and Cynthia on the show, or at least Logan. We'll figure it out. One or both of them on Wednesday. I love speaking when I don't know the exact details.
Yeah,
at one point we were going to have both.
How many rings does Logan have? Because he was the Patriots for a few years. I assume that gives you multiple Super Bowl rings at any given time.
I think he was drafted in 2013, so he's got at least the 14 and 16 ones. I don't think he was. I don't know if he was there in 18.
Yeah, well, multiple time Super Bowl champion.
Multiple. Him and Jimmy G both have two, I think. So
Yeah,
just multiple time Super Bowl champion Logan Ryan. Somebody look that up for me. Logan Ryan. How many rings does he have?
Ben says 2.
There we go. Ben knows. Ben's got all the bios. Who do we have on the show Wednesday, Ben? Both. Logan and Cynthia. Looking forward to it. All right, we've got no more use for that game. Bengals won in week one. They're 1-0 for the first time since Ickey Woods was the running back. Is that right?
I doubt it.
Cincinnati Bengals 17, Cleveland Browns 16. Bengals are 1-0.
Whew. Man.
With, how many yards of offense did they have? How did this happen?
It made no sense. And the thing is, the amount of things that had to happen for this to go this way. The multiple weird things. Number one, they started the game well.
So the Bengals, the whole narrative here, sorry to interrupt. The whole narrative here is the offense sucks in week one.
Yes.
So they made some changes. They drive down the field.
People played in preseason.
Yeah. 12 plays, 68 yards. Bengals up 7-0, finish it with a touchdown. Browns come back, to their credit. Bengals come right back. So 2 out of their first 3 drives.
Right.
They scored touchdowns. They're up 14-7, and they didn't score a touchdown since.
Yeah. It's okay, the one thing about these slow starts they've had is, well, for whatever reason, the offense just doesn't get going until they don't get into a rhythm early enough. And you're like, well, okay, let's try and accelerate that along. We'll actually play preseason this time. We've been doing the Sean McVay approach of nobody of consequence plays in preseason. We're going to change that. We need to get them in a rhythm, and we're going to make them play in these meaningless games. And they were awesome in the meaningless games. They'd go out, they'd play a drive, they'd score a touchdown, everything would look great. Well, that's how it looked at the start of this game. It's it worked. Perfect. This offense is already in rhythm. Joe Burrow's feeling it. Jamar Chase is amazing. We're mid-season form already. And then, as you said, it just stopped. They got into the groove. Because I've got some sympathy with the idea. Well, Joe Burrow is he just needs to be in rhythm, and then it's clicked. Well, he was in rhythm, and then the rhythm fell out. The rhythm stopped, the rhythm ceased, and they went back to being the Week 1 Bengals.
So they go 2 out of their first 3 drives are a touchdown, and then they go 5 punts and a field goal. The field goal was a 7-play, 17-yard drive because of turnovers, including in one drive that ended the half.
They had 7 yards in the second half. Daniel Oyefusi from ESPN research said the Browns held the Bengals to 7 yards in the second half, which is the fewest yards in the second half by a winning team in the last 25 years.
That's my favorite part of Sunday night, Monday morning.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've seen the Bills-Ravens has a million of these.
I don't think I have. We usually have at least
There it
one
is.
from our friend Josh Dubow from the AP. I don't think I've found one from him yet. Cleveland apparently outgained Cincinnati 327 to 141 yards and doubled up on first downs, 22 to 11 in a 1-point loss.
Yeah. So the Browns must have screwed some stuff up to
A lot of things,
to
yeah.
get there. Joe Flacco with 2 interceptions. Careless with the football.
Yeah. Both interceptions. So you see these every now and again where it's like, it's not a great pass, but it's catchable. And the receiver, is either diving down or they're going out of their way, outside of the frame, let's say, to catch it. And sometimes, the ball they don't quite get hold of it and the ball drops to the ground. Every now and again, the way he doesn't catch it involves, you get your hands to the ball, you can't quite bring it in, and you accidentally pop it up, right? And upwards, when you're taking all the sting out of the ball, usually results in the defender that's quite close to it being able to come down with it. But you only see like one of those a year, or one every blue moon. This happened twice in the game. Joe Flacco put the ball kind of on his receiver. It was catchable. It was difficult, but on 2 separate occasions, the receiver conspired to not just not catch the ball, but actually pop it up and turn it into an interception.
To throw it to the Bengals.
Right. Jerry Jeudy did it. Cedric Tillman did it on what could have, should have been a game-winning drive late in the game. Jerry Jeudy wasn't satisfied with that, though, turning the ball over. He also dropped the ball multiple times, including a 4th down where he was wide open. Joe Flacco put it on him, and that's a turnover. So Jerry Jeudy is individually responsible for multiple turnovers in this game, as at playing wide receiver, which is pretty difficult to do.
So you've got the mishaps on the Browns side. By the way, I don't want to sound shocked that the Browns defense played well, because they did. They do have a ton of potential on defense.
Did you see that hit that Myles Garrett delivered on Joe Burrow?
Which one?
They ran like a stunt, and the end result.
Oh, that one. Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
Stunt
when he came free.
was Myles Garrett coming right down the pipe, the middle of the defense, with a running start at Joe Burrow, who knew I'm going to get rid of the ball, and this freight train is hitting me. That guy. That's one of the hardest hits I've seen in years. Like, Myles Garrett had a running head of steam. I saw a second angle from it from the side as well, and it's like he wasn't just running. Like, he did the sort of like dig the foot into the ground to spring forward. Joe Burrow might as well have been like the tackling dummy, where you get the running, like the thing that, remember when Field Yates dislocated his shoulder on a beach because he went too high on the tackling dummy?
Yeah.
Myles Garrett did that to Joe Burrow, and Burrow just got up and played on. That's the kind of, that idea of like, could a regular human play an NFL game? Like, regular person's dead. Like, I don't know that.
Burrow's taken a lot of hits through the years.
If Myles Garrett did that to me,
Tough.
I'm in the hospital. I'm not popping up the next play.
So there was a sequence. I don't think that was it, but Bengals are up 1 point, 17-16, about 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they're backed up in Browns territory, and there's 3 straight plays that the Browns defensive line just takes over, 2 of which was Myles Garrett, right? He has 2 sacks.
3 straight sacks?
3 straight sacks. 2 of them are Myles Garrett. One where he's just dominant. The second one, he comes free, and then Mason Graham was the one who helped blow up the third one. Isaiah McGuire got in on the sack. I don't want to sound shocked that the Browns defense, because McGuire really emerged last year. Myles Garrett is still the most unblockable player in the NFL.
Yep.
Mason Graham, this showed his potential. He ran through 2 blockers to blow up this play. They're pretty good up front. They're good up front. Carson Schwetzinger had a nice game as a
really
rookie at
good game.
linebacker. Denzel Ward, they play the Bengals tough historically when they're healthy, right? The Browns dealt with some injuries last year, and 2 years ago they had an excellent defense. With some coverage busts in there, but they had an excellent defense on a down-to-down basis. So they deserve credit for this. But they gave their team a ton of opportunities to win.
Yeah.
Browns missed an extra point and missed a 36-yard field goal in the fourth quarter, and they had 2 like you said, the 2 passes that hit the receiver's hands that popped up for interceptions. The final one to DJ Turner.
And the Jerry Jeudy drop on 4th down, that's a turnover on downs. It's effectively another turnover. So that's 3 turnovers plus multiple missed kicks to give Cincinnati the chance to win it.
Other thing I wanted to highlight from Cincinnati's perspective, their run defense looked awful during the preseason. Did we overrate it a little bit? They looked good in this game. Shamar Stewart, I thought, looked very good in this game. We spent a lot of time debating his lack of production, but his incredible athletic profile. He looked powerful and explosive, very disruptive in the run game. He was, folding offensive linemen. He did a really nice job up front, had a couple nice pass rushes in there too. I mean, Shamar Stewart, I don't know, man. I might be coming around on him already. That his speed to power in bend is really incredible. I don't know if he really knows what he's doing yet, but we've called him a bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
He's one of the few players that might be able to run through NFL offensive tackles pretty consistently. Not fully like Jared Verse, but hey, just go cause some havoc. And you saw some of that in this game from Shamar Stewart. So I think good start for the first-round edge rusher who we had some questions about from a production standpoint coming out.
Yeah, I mean, it never took more than a second or two of watching his tape to understand why there was hype surrounding him. And even that play that went viral in training camp where he decleated Josh Connerly, there was not training camp, the Senior Bowl practices. Yep. There were mitigating circumstances around that. However, simply doing that to an offensive tackle is pretty impressive in and of itself. So, yeah, I can absolutely see him causing some havoc. This game had one of those situations. Okay, it was, I think, 4th and 1 with 2 minutes left in the game. And Cincinnati, they have the ball. Do you want to give the Browns a chance to win it? They end up punting the ball away. Would you have gone for it or punted?
How much time left?
2 minutes, I think, exactly. I think the 2-minute warning hit on that one going into that 4th down.
Remind me the exact situation again.
The Bengals are up. I think it's the final score. Nobody scored after that. But the Bengals are up by 1 point. They've had the ball. It's 4th and 1 from the Cincinnati 35.
Oh, I see. And they took the delay game and punted.
Yeah. They did the whole let's line up and pretend we're going to do it and hopefully you can draw them offside, but we're never really going to.
I don't know if I would have gone for that.
Okay. Go for it. Always.
And just hope the Browns miss their field goal.
But again, it's not even hope they miss it. It's like number one, all the advantage is you keep the ball and then try and kill the game.
So
don't give them a chance.
I'm usually in favor of one play. So did they have all their timeouts as well?
Because
if they have all their timeouts, what's going to happen is you're going to induce the Browns into.
Did who have all their timeouts? Cincinnati?
Bengals.
No, they only had one left.
So that would be the issue. If they had all 3 timeouts, you might go for it and say we have one play to win, or if we don't get it, the Browns go run, field goal. And by the way, they might miss the field goal. But even if they kick it, we get the ball back with like a minute 40 left, and then we'll go down and have a field goal opportunity. So there's like a lot of scenarios there. This is the Ravens-Bills. We're going to be here for 4 hours. Ravens-Bills discussion. Do you punt it? Are you going to get the ball back? Lots of questions. All right, there's one more 1 o'clock game to discuss. Las Vegas Raiders get the win, 20-13. Another 20-13 score over the New England Patriots. Raiders, first place Raiders. 1 game ahead of the last place Chiefs. Pete Carroll, in his Raiders debut, gets the win. Mike Vrabel in his Patriots debut with the loss. Geno Smith goes 24 of 34 for 362, including, at the very end, Dante Thornton with a 36-yarder to seal it for the Raiders. Some aggressiveness from Geno Smith and from Pete Carroll. I may have overrated a little bit on the show last night. It was from the New England 38, but he went for it on 4th and 1, ended up being the difference in the game, I thought. Put the Raiders up 2 scores. What are your thoughts on the Raiders getting the win here?
The aggressiveness from Geno Smith, I think, was the thing that jumped out. I mean, I was hoping that the touchdown early on was Trey Tucker. I was hoping that was going to be to Dante Thornton. It would have been like the perfect narrative. Geno Smith going aggressive early on. And, oh, look, it's the rookie. This is going to be amazing. And it wasn't quite. But still, the point is Geno Smith's going to go out there and heave the ball deep downfield, and that's going to make this team pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, and look, Brock Bowers, he had 5 catches for 103, left the game early. It sounds like it's not that serious.
Yeah, so he left the game. He was just running a route and suddenly starts hobbling around the place. And then he goes to the tent and they're like, he's out with a knee injury. And they're like, oh no, non-contact guy. Like non-contact knee injury sounds catastrophic. And then the earliest reports coming out of the game that I saw were it's not bad. He's, TBD on week 2, but like you're not TBD on week 2 if it's something significant.
We've said it could be a sneaky good group of playmakers for the Raiders. Bowers made some big plays. Jacoby Myers, 8 catches for 97 yards. He's just a good route runner. He's open often. Trey Tucker had 2 for 54, including that touchdown. So he created some big plays. Dante Thornton behind the defense when they needed him. Actually was underthrown a little bit. He did a nice job adjusting. Reminder every time we mention Thornton, he's 6'5" and runs 4.3. Which players are fast, players are big.
It's a very short list of players that tick those 2 boxes, and the short list of players are almost all Hall of Famers.
And what sold me on him is he actually sinks his hips, gets in and out of routes, and he catches the ball all right. A lot of times you have the Kelvin Benjamin types who just have really bad hands, or Quentin Johnston, who is going to good for a drop or 2 per game, and Thornton got better hands than some of those guys. So just he came good as a 4th rounder in this one. The Raiders offense made some plays there. Ashton Genty, second lowest yards before contact in the league this week from our friends over at True Media. Only guy worse was Chase Brown, or lower, from the Bengals against the Browns. So similar story. As a Ashton Genty apologist here. To me, it's a similar story as the Raiders running backs last year. No room to run. I thought Genty, you finished with 19 carries for 38 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown was really nice because he ran through contact and got into the end zone, but not a lot of room to run for Genty at the 2 yards per carry here.
Yeah, it felt almost like the Boise State-Penn State game where it's like Genty wasn't bad. It's just that Penn State was murdering the Boise State offensive line. He had nowhere to go ever. The only difference is instead of breaking like 7 tackles on one play, he broke 4 tackles in the game. So he wasn't able to quite as much offset the complete overmatching of the trenches that he was dealing with. But yeah, I don't like the takeaway of this. I don't think is to look at under 40 rushing yards on a bunch of attempts or 2.22 yards per attempt and be like, yeah, Ashton Genty's a bust. The takeaway, if you want to have a sweeping conclusion after one game, is this is why you don't draft running backs in the top 10, because unless you have an offensive line that can support them, they can't overcome it.
On the other side, New England's offense, they looked pretty good early on, and then, look, the Raiders' defense started making some plays. They forced Drake May into an interception under pressure. I thought May was
the one bad play a game.
The what?
The one bad play a game. Like he's just got one built into him every week.
Yeah, this one was tough to avoid. I mean, he was kind of getting popped as he threw the pick. So yeah, they were okay. Will Campbell watch. I thought he was good overall. He did get beaten for a sack, and if you're just looking at sack totals, it's he got beaten for 1, but I think overall he held up pretty well. Any thoughts on New England and their offense? Only 13 points. Thought May was okay, and I expected more from Stephon Diggs early on. He didn't get many of his catches till late. Kayshon Boutte made some plays. It was all right overall, but they're still sitting here with 13 points and not much different than last year at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the bad side of it. I do think, they looked more dangerous. They looked more dynamic. They had more playmakers than you would have said last year. The run game didn't show up at all, really. That was a big thing for them, that they weren't able to lean on that. So it was kind of Drake May and what he could make happen from the pass catchers. Pop Douglas had one of the funniest stat lines of the week on this. 7 targets from -2 yards and a touchdown. You don't see that very often. That's like the Jerome Bettis year where he had like whatever it was, some ridiculous. Basically, every carry was a touchdown from the 1 yard line.
Would you have 5 carries for -2 or -1 and 3 touchdowns or something ridiculous like that? Yeah, I think the offense still leaves you wanting a little bit more. I was surprised with the run game, right? They didn't stick with it a whole lot. Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson had the same number of carries. So a lot on the pass game once again and on Drake May's arm.
But I will say the first sort of evidence of, okay, we know we should project Drake May for better than a year ago based off all of his supporting cast being better. What we don't know is how much better. I mean, this was encouraging. He was better. There was still a bad play in there. There was still a mistake in there. He still has this. He has quite a frustrating tendency sometimes to like miss the easy throw and then make the harder one. There was a sequence in the red zone where he did exactly that. Like he missed Pop Douglas wide open, just overthrew him. And then, like, I think the very next play maybe made a much harder throw where it was like only his receiver could catch it in the corner of the end zone. Ultimately, if you make the throw, it's not a big deal. But the whole point of the NFL is it's hard, and being able to make the layups is kind of an important skill because those are the cheap, easy plays that you take when they're there.
I agree.
So I'd like to see him improve that. That's always been a thing for him all the way through college.
Layups was one of the biggest question that we had. It wasn't enough for us to say, don't draft this guy high.
Right.
I actually think it's like that's fixable.
Yeah.
I
mean,
footwork,
and these are the
he
things.
He sailed one early on and everything, right? He misses some layups.
These are not necessarily the things that determine whether or not you can be a starting NFL quarterback. Like these are the things that determine how high up the rankings you belong, right? Like, you see Josh Allen and all these top quarterbacks we're talking about now, they don't miss many layups anymore, right? Maybe they all did at some point, but now that they're the elite of the elite, that's the thing they've ironed out, and that's what gets them up there in addition to the crazy big playmaking ability. So that's the kind of thing that could put a cap on Drake May unless he, irons that out over the course of his career.
There's some game flow questions with this Patriots offense where they had 13 running back carries. May had 54 dropbacks. So, 46 pass attempts, sacked 4 times, 4 scrambles in there. I don't think that's how they wanted to play out in a game that was close for the majority of it, right? I mean, it wasn't like they were down 10 at one point, so you got to throw the ball to get back into it. But I don't know if that's the game script that New England's looking for with May week to week here.
No.
But the key play here for me, fourth quarter, 9:25 left. It's 4th and 1 on the New England 38. I'm not saying this is like Pete Carroll's always kicking a field goal historically, but there were times in his Seattle tenure where, like, Pete, it's 2019, it's 2020, it's 2021. You're lining up for a 54, 55-yard field goal on 4th and 1, and then, field goal misses, and you're giving the other team good field position. It's 4th and 1, and Geno Smith hits Michael Mayer over the middle of the field for an 8-yard first down. That set them up for the field. They were up 7 at the time, the Raiders. This put them up 10, and that was pretty much it. So I thought that was a very good decision from Pete. Again, I'm not saying he definitely would have kicked the field goal a couple of years ago, but made the right call, and I think that level of aggressiveness ended up winning the game for them.
Yeah, I mean, that word, I think, is the thing that comes out of this game from the Raiders' point of view. Whether it's Pete Carroll or Geno Smith, both of them in concert, they were aggressive in a way that I think is going to be very good for this team. Because, look, we said it, they're probably still the 4th best team in this division overall over a 17-game schedule. The only way, if you're going to offset that and finish ahead of one of the other teams, you have to be more aggressive than they are. You have to try and play on the side of variance and try and hope that breaks your way a little bit. And you've got the playmakers to make that happen, with guys like Dante Thornton. So, yeah, like, cut it loose. Let's be aggressive.
Lost my documents here. Anything else on Raiders-Patriots?
Part of that aggressiveness, Geno Smith, I think, had a 10.5 average depth of target, something like that, 10.64 according to Sumer Sports.
Which pushes it down the field.
It's not the most aggressive of the week, but it's one of them.
All right, we'll get to the 4 o'clock games in a second, but quick break to talk about today's sponsor, Brooklyn Bedding. Brooklyn Bedding handcrafts every mattress in their Arizona factory. No middlemen, no gimmicks, just top-tier quality, honest pricing, and real American craftsmanship for a better night's sleep. Which you're getting now, Sam?
Hell yeah.
How's your American mattress from Brooklyn Bedding going?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to say it's like sleeping on a feather or whatever those things are that people always say in these things, but it's like sleeping on an awesome mattress, and that's probably more important than sleeping on a feather. It's very good. We had this old mattress that had been old enough that it made the trip with us to the U.S. from Ireland. So it was probably in need of an upgrade, and this has been a pretty excellent upgrade.
I'm just glad you got the right mattress now, and you too can get the right mattress. Go to brooklynbedding.com and use our promo code CheckTheMic at checkout to get 30% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. That's brooklynbedding.com and promo code CheckTheMic for 30% off site-wide. Make sure you enter our show name after the checkout so that they know that we sent you. brooklynbedding.com. Promo code is CheckTheMic. We're on to the 4 o'clock games.
That's just for clarification. That's bedding as opposed to betting, which it often sounds like when people say it out loud.
It's 2 D's, not 2 T's.
Exactly.
Yeah, BrooklynBedding.com. 5 more games, and it's 9-10. It's nice being in our own studio, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Like, there would be people, like, looking in the window already being like,
yeah,
tapping on the watch.
We could be here all day. You had nowhere to be. Do you have anywhere to be?
We would be preventing PFF show from going live right now.
We got tons of people in the chat. Appreciate the live interaction. It's the first, NFL Monday of the year. I love it.
Got names on the wall, members.
You got members signing up, which you guys can do. It's awesome. To the 4 o'clock games. Let's go Green Bay Packers 27, Detroit Lions 13. Packers in first place in the NFC North.
Yeah.
This is a statement game, man. This is a statement game by the Packers. They were favored. Vegas knew something. I still thought the Lions were going to look good. I think there's a lot to talk about from a Lions perspective, but the Packers...
Can't remember what I picked. What was I saying?
I think we both took the Lions.
Damn it.
I think we still believed in them. But the Packers' defense looked really good, held the Lions to 46 yards on the ground. Some crazy stat lines from David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
But the Packers came out firing. Jordan Love, big-time throw. Jordan Love throwing some dimes down the field. Our boss, Mike Tannenbaum, picked him for MVP.
Justice for Mike.
It was looking great in the first half.
Oh, he should go on First Take or whatever it is. What's that show with Stephen A? Is that First Take? He should go on that and just start, like, victory lapping. He should. Obnoxiously victory lapping.
Yeah, that's what you do.
On Monday, right?
The most recent thing you saw.
Yeah.
You projected out 17 times.
You just claim victory. Doesn't matter if it's true or not. Like, I was right. You were wrong, idiot.
Mike, we got your segment for next time you're face-to-face with Stephen A.
You should be calling up the ESPN producers right now and going, I will dance on that man's grave this morning. You put me on the air right now, and we're going to see some magic happen.
I don't know the order of shows here. The second Get Up is over. I'm heading over the First Take set. I demand Stephen A. one-on-one right now. I'm going to be bawling.
I'm going to be out there in like a full Packers uniform, right? And I'm dancing around his desk. That's what I do.
Mike listens to us. I just don't know what part of the week, so he might catch this on Wednesday and be like, yeah.
Should have done it. Should
have. Packers offense was cooking early, though, weren't they? They were looking good.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Love looked great. Like, this is the thing, right? We don't know what Jordan Love is going to be consistently long-term, right? We don't even know if there will be a consistent Jordan Love long-term or if he will be consistently streaky, if that's the thing that will define him. But it is fair to point out that, look, last year was basically entirely injured. For almost the entire year, he was dealing with something. And while injuries are a part of the game, it's like the Justin Herbert conversation. It's foolish to not at least acknowledge that this period of time when the numbers were not as good as they had been previously, he was dealing with injury. So, again, it's like Drake May. Okay, so let's project him better going forward. Does that mean he's going to play like the tail end of 2023 for all the time? No. But it means that we know that level of play is within him.
It's in him there somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, it's somewhere.
This was closer to that than we saw for a lot of last year. Jordan Love looked very, very good in this game. Green Bay's receiving core looked very good in this game. And not just, the new receivers. Like, they Tucker Kraft, like the guys that they had that were already there did well. But Romeo Doubs had a good game. All their receivers had a pretty good game. Dontavian Wicks, the guy that was supposed to break out last year and did nothing, showed up, made a couple plays in this game. Like, this team looked good. And then obviously on defense, it turns out Micah Parsons is quite good at football.
He is.
I don't know if that's breaking news.
It might open things up for others on that defense.
By the way, the Green Bay receiving core they must lead the league in Guardian cap usage. Like, half the receiving group was wearing those Guardian caps. That's fine. But we're not too far removed from an era where you couldn't force receivers to wear, like, thigh pads to the point where they had to mandate it. Now you've got receivers out here volunteering to put on these giant Spaceballs Guardian caps in games. Like, what's happened to the game? Where are we gone?
People are trying to
in the last 20 years.
Brain protection is what they're looking for here, Sam.
I'm just a sad day.
So you have Jordan Love throwing beautiful Tucker Kraft touchdown up the seam. You got Jaden Reed on the wheel route, little rub. I mean, those were very nice plays. I mean, the Packers receiving core, we like to define roles sometimes and say, this is your deep threat. This is your after the catch guy. It was Romeo Doubs who was the deep threat. Love hit him with a big time throw down the field on a deep post. It wasn't necessarily like, hey, Matthew Golden's here to be the deep threat. It is a solid receiving core, right? Dobbs, I could use the word solid for all of them. I use the word solid for Golden when I watched his film, right? I mean, they are good across the board there. So whether an alpha receiver emerges or not, we always kept saying, I don't know if it matters.
And it didn't in this game. I mean, it's not like Golden, had the dominant performance, showed he was a true number one. Like, that changed everything. Like, everybody chipped in.
They did. So the offense looked good. Remember, Matt LaFleur also, just a good history of scheming it up and creating offense. And it was just good performance by the Packers on that side. Josh Jacobs with a couple of nice runs in there. Nothing from the stat line, because Love's final stat line wasn't even that great. 16 of 22 for 188, 2 touchdowns. It wasn't high volume. It was just very efficient early on, and they got the lead, and they really put Detroit in a hole. But I don't know if the Packers' defense is the story, because you take away Isaac Tesla, catch of the year candidate, the one-handed, barely get both feet in their touchdown. That's all Detroit got as far as touchdowns go, and that was late. The Packers' defense was the story here. So I'll just read some stats to you. David Montgomery, 11 carries for 25 yards, 2.3 per carry. Jahmyr Gibbs, 9 carries for 19 yards, 2.1 per carry.
Can I give you a more important, or not more important, but weirder Jahmyr Gibbs stat?
Yeah, his receiving. I was going there.
Field Yates had a weird receiving stat line for Jahmyr Gibbs today. 10 catches for 31 yards, which is the fewest receiving yards in a game where a player's had at least 10 catches in NFL history.
Wild.
Right, by about like 10 yards as well. Like the previous one was
Alvin Kamara had a stretch of play a couple years ago, right, where he'd have like 12 catches. Or Jalen Waddle had that stretch too, where it's like 12 catches for 50 yards.
And Wan'Dale Robinson had one last year with like a bunch, but it was 40-something yards. Like, this is the lowest by a distance that a guy has had 10 catches and 31 yards.
So again, you want to give credit to the Packers, and you want to ask the question, what's wrong with the Lions, right? Well, let's try to do that both at the same time with some nuance here. The fact that Jahmyr Gibbs, who was the guy, it's like, got to get him touches, right? As you should. He's fast. He's explosive. He generally plays faster than everybody on the field. You get him into space, he creates big plays. 19 touches between carries and those receptions you talked about for 50 yards. 19 receptions. And
that feels like it shouldn't be possible for Jahmyr Gibbs, given how explosive and dynamic he is.
And so, look, I think there's credit to be had in Green Bay. Micah Parsons he was part of a rotation, right? They were easing him in. Micah Parsons, extra attention. He did have a sack where he tracked down Jared Goff, which was beautiful. Edgerrin Cooper continues to look like a star, flying around, making plays.
And is now a full-time starter.
And he's a full-time
player.
Yeah, I mean, he is Cooper, the second-year linebacker, second-round pick, brings a physicality to this team. He's like the size of an old-school Sam linebacker, and he has that type of physicality, but he's got the chase and run ability of an old-school Will linebacker, or just a Will linebacker generally. And so Cooper brings a ton to the table here. And then you ask the question, okay, you talked about those position switches for the Bucs a couple games ago. Just Frank Ragnow's retirement and losing him at center for Detroit. Yeah. Graham Glasgow moves from guard to center. Detroit has 3 new players, right? 2 new starters at guard, and then Glasgow moving from guard to center. And how big of a difference is that making for Detroit? They can't get anything going in the run game. They were beat up front, and Ben Johnson's gone, right? So we have all these confounding variables against each other, but the early returns are Detroit's offense looked really bad overall.
Yeah. So it looked, if you had 2 concerns about Detroit heading into the season, it's number one, there's been turnover on the offensive line to an alarming degree, right? The tackles are still intact, but basically the entire interior has changed, even if there's some continuity in terms of personnel. They've moved positions. So, like, your entire interior is different, and at least in one spot has downgraded massively from one of the best centers in the game in Frank Ragnow to anybody. So that would be a concern because of everything we said before. There is power to continuity on the offensive line. There's also power to the fact that Frank Ragnow was really good at football, and just shuffling 3 interior offensive linemen at any one time is always dangerous. The second thing you would be concerned about is you lose Ben Johnson, who's one of the best minds in the game, and you don't know really what you're going to be replacing him with yet until we see that in action. One of the key characteristics of Ben Johnson as a coordinator, as an offensive mind, has been his attention to detail, how in-depth and prepared they are, and how much, Brett, he's the one guy that's got answers for Brian Flores. That kind of speaks to everything. If you were concerned about, do we see signs that suddenly the details are absent? We saw signs that the details were absent. Ben Johnson's offense, Jared Goff in the red zone the last couple of years has been spectacular. In this game, he was terrible in the red zone. So if both of the things that you would potentially be concerned about heading into the season for the Lions, you're more concerned about them coming out of this game than you were going in. So, on the one hand, I think that the Green Bay side of this was more predictable. They added Micah Parsons to a team that was already good and trying to get to great with a bunch of young players. It makes sense that they have taken a step forward and they're ready to contend. The Detroit, it's not that it was shocking because these were things we flagged as potential problems, but both of the things that we flagged look like they might be problems. And if they're both problems at the same time, then it's one really big problem.
And with Goff, Packers get up 17-3, and just before the half, the Lions are driving. Look, I don't think the Lions are going to be a bad team.
Sure.
I don't think they're going to be bad this year. But it's one of those, okay, you're down 14 just before the half. Can you at least get a score before the half? At least a field goal, right? Get something. And it's 3rd and 7. Evan Williams makes an incredible diving interception on Jared Goff. So that takes potential points off the board for Detroit. So that's a bad decision. Great play by Evan Williams. I've talked about Green Bay not having stars. Well, maybe I've underrated their star potential beyond Micah Parsons because, I think Edgerrin Cooper is a star. Evan Williams, as a rookie, he had a great season. He makes this big play in week 1. They were just flying around. They were motivated. They made a statement at home. And honestly, the scoreboard might not even do it justice. And it was a 14-point win. It was one of the few multi-score wins of the week. The Packers dominated this game from start to finish. It was 27-6 late before the Isaac Tesla one-handed touchdown.
I will say that I think Jordan Love had 2 big mistakes in this game, and he got away with both of them.
Were they back-to-back plays? They were right next to each other.
Were they back-to-back? They were pretty close together, all right. There was the play where he basically under pressure threw the ball to Alex Anzalone, and he couldn't come up with it. And then there was the play where Brian Branch has a spectacular diving interception, pick 6 that gets negated because of a couple of penalties, I think, in the play. Somebody pointed out, so I forget was it holding was the first call, and then roughing the passer. No, what wasn't roughing the passer?
I actually didn't see the play. I didn't see the penalty that negated Branch's interception. I just saw the interception, which would have been a pick 6 and an absolute game changer, obviously, for the Lions.
So it was holding somewhere, I think, in that play. Anyway, the point is, after that, Aiden Hutchinson then goes and buries Jordan Love, right?
That's right.
That in and of itself is a penalty.
That was one of the penalties, yes.
But somebody was pointing out that once the pick 6 is already getting negated, you might as well deck the quarterback because it's going to be declined. Because the more important penalty is the one that's already going to negate the play. Yeah, so you have a free license to go and kill the quarterback.
Yeah, but Hutchinson didn't know.
I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying that the rules are now set up in such a way that if that is the sequence of events, and there's a flag on the play, the pick 6 is coming back, I'm going to go kill the quarterback. Because why not?
Because the league and Ramon Foster are going to fine you.
That's true. You'll get it paid. Ramon is going to take a big wet bite out of your paycheck this week.
Our friend Ramon is on the appeals committee or whatever for the NFL.
Yeah, it's John Runyon putting out the discipline, and then Ramon deciding whether it's fair or not.
So it's week 1. The Packers are going to be very high in power rankings this week. This is a big week for the Packers in power rankings. So you have to answer, Sam. There's no middle ground here.
Yeah.
Is this because the Packers are great or the Lions are terrible and overrated? There's no middle ground. You have to choose one.
I think it says more about the Packers this game than the Lions. I think they showed that last year they were really, really good until they had to play Detroit, Minnesota, and Philly, basically. And even Philly, they ran it pretty close. They just couldn't beat those teams. Maybe they can beat those teams this year.
Yeah, again, that's the statement that they made, right?
Yeah.
We're not the afterthought. They were third place. They were a playoff team, but in third place in that division last year, behind the Lions and the Vikings. So they're saying, yeah, we're going to play. And by the way, it's not like they got smoked in every game. Like they lost
No, they were close most of them.
one-score games and everything. It's not like this is a massive shock.
Like a couple of those games were weird because they got beaten harder than the final score, I think, but they made it close late. But yeah, they were close in those games.
Good job, Packers. Good win, 27-13. Let's go San Francisco 49ers 17, Seattle Seahawks 13. This game felt like I think the Niners made way more mistakes than the Seahawks, but the Seahawks had a few of their own in there. Whichever team makes fewer mistakes is going to get the win. And that's what happened. So Brock Purdy throws a game-winning touchdown.
Mm-hmm. To his tight end.
To his tight end.
Just as we expected.
Jake Tongas.
Ah, that tight end.
Yeah. His third career catch is a game-ending.
Not George Kittle.
Game-winning tight end. George Kittle missing the most of the game with a hamstring injury. He did score a touchdown early. It was Tongas with his third career catch, which, by the way, looked like it was thrown directly to Tariq Woolen, and Tongas stepped in front and picked it off as for a touchdown reception for Brock Purdy. Strange game for Purdy, by the way. Mm-hmm. To get the win, 17-13, dealing with Nick Moody missing field goals, blocked field goals, Purdy interception. Jake Moody.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Nick Moody?
I don't know. I'm just making up names at this point. We're 2.5 hours in. If the names aren't real, deal with it.
I don't really understand.
Steve Darnold playing for Seattle.
Yeah, I don't really understand how Jake Moody is still employed.
I don't know how Kyle Shanahan lines up for a field goal ever.
Well, he doesn't half the time. That's the thing. It's like Jake Moody goes out there, shanks one from 30, and then they're like, well, we're not kicking again.
Ever. Like, you should never kick.
It's like, okay,
4th and 18.
That's a perfectly understandable approach in the game. How do you then get to the next week and are like, you know what, let's do it again? Like, why is there a disconnect between, you remember the Sunday when we couldn't attempt field goals because we don't trust our kicker from anywhere? Why is he still the kicker? Why does that not happen?
I don't know, man.
I was reading, because obviously the answer to that is it's a sunk cost fallacy, right? They drafted this guy in the 3rd round, and they just refused to admit that was a bad pick, and we got to move on. So I was Googling, sunk cost fallacy just to tweet it at somebody. And it's like a little, the AI synopsis or whatever. And it's like you should try and approach this by describing the situation to somebody and then ask how they would approach that how they would advise a friend in that situation. Somebody needs to sit down, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, and say, this is what we're dealing with here, right? How would you advise we approach this particular situation where our kicker is so bad that every time we put him out there, he misses, and then we can't kick for the rest of the game? What would you advise we do? Because presumably they would go, cut his ass. And then you go, yeah, well, the kicker in question is Jake Moody, and he's on your roster.
Find another kicker. There's only 32 jobs in the world, but there's like a handful of guys waiting that could be in the top 32.
I mean, there's only 32 jobs in the world, but I would imagine there's quite a lot of people sitting on the sideline that would be doing the job better than Jake Moody does.
So yeah, the Niners won despite field goal issues. Brock Purdy with 2 interceptions, weird decisions over the middle. I don't think he was seeing the middle of the field all that well. Didn't see the first one to Ernest Jones, tried to sneak one in, the second one.
Why do you think he played that way?
Brock Purdy?
Yes.
I think Mike McDonald's defense did a pretty good job disguising. Like Ernest Jones was...
Because he felt like he was pushing, like pressing too hard, trying to make things happen.
I don't know. I think you might be extrapolating that a little bit. It's not like we've never seen Brock Purdy make some poor decisions over the middle of the field.
Sure.
It's not like we've never seen that. And he made some really nice throws in there as well. He also randomly did the jump throw, which I put out there.
Yeah.
It looked worse than the results looked worse maybe than it should have because his running back, he was just in the middle of the pocket and he just, like a dude, like a rock star on his guitar doing like a jump pass out of nowhere. I don't know why he did it. And then he throws a beauty to Ricky Pearsall down the sideline. He had some good ones in there as well.
Yeah.
I thought the touchdown though. He threw that right to Tariq Woolen. Tongas jumped in front. I mean, you're trusting your guy to make a play, but that ended up being the difference in the game here.
Yeah.
But you're trying to say he's trying to live up to his contract.
I don't know. Maybe
you were seeing style differences maybe in Purdy in this one?
It felt like he was pressing in the game. I don't know why he was pressing. Maybe it was the feeling that now I'm getting paid $53 million a year. I've got to show that I'm worth that. Maybe it was the feeling that, hey, George Kittle's down. Juwan Jennings is hurt. Like, a lot of my receivers are out. I've got to try and do this, right? I got to try and make it happen with what I've got left. I don't know what the reason was for it, but it felt like overall he was trying to do too much.
That might have been what it was, though, too. Like, you didn't have the easy buttons that they've had through the years, where you've got Debo, you've got Ayuk open, you have Kittle open. There weren't a lot of easy buttons in this one. I thought they did a nice job moving Christian McCaffrey around in the pass game.
Who, by the way, was alive.
Who played.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, my dad sent me this meme of...
Your dad was wrong.
I know. Like Christian McCaffrey being wheeled out, hey, he's still alive, he's still healthy, like the Pope, when they pushed him out to the balcony like a day before he died. And it's like, see, he's fine, everything's good. And then, actually, no, we need a new Pope. Christian McCaffrey is, in fact, still alive, still healthy. The calf injury is not shutting him down for a year. He's still good at football.
22 carries for 69 yards, so they had no problem with the workload, and he also caught 9 passes for 73.
Including, split out, as a legitimate receiver.
That's what I mean. I thought they did a better job with him in the pass game, moving him around, creating mismatches. And so maybe that was it. Like, Purdy was forcing things a little bit. Maybe he's putting more pressure on himself. Maybe it's just that he doesn't have as many open receivers as he has in the past. Ricky Pearsall did create some big plays, 4 catches for 108. So there's potential there with this Niners offense. They also did a really good job in pass protection. My optimism for the Seahawks this year, very dependent on their defensive front. They did a much better job in the run game up front, made those plays on the back end as far as the picks go for Purdy, but they did not get a ton of pressure on Purdy in this one. So that was a little disappointing given what I expected. Trent Williams was the worst. Derek Hall got him. Trent Williams was the worst in pass protection for San Francisco. I know he got hurt early and was playing through that. But, if he was healthy, man, Seattle may not have gotten any type of pressure up front. And then Seattle's offense just didn't have a ton of plays, didn't find much rhythm in there. Jackson Smith and Jigba with 124 of the 150 receiving yards for the Seattle offense.
Yeah, so I was like, wait, what happened to Torrey Horton? Where was this breakout wide receiver 2/3 for them? And he played in that role. I mean, he was the third wide receiver in terms of snaps for them. He just didn't see the ball, didn't come his way. And I don't think it was because he wasn't getting open at all. They just didn't have, it all went to JSN. Every target that went out of Sam Darnold's hands went in the direction of JSN, effectively.
And Seattle had their fair share of mistakes. JSN had a big fumble. They tried your rugby play on 3rd and long.
Which, again, was open and would have been a play, except you can't,
JSN overthrew it.
The only downside of that particular one was that was quite a long pass. Even if he had executed rugby mechanics, that would not have been the easiest pass in the world.
The other thing that was notable, so Cooper Kupp, coming over, I don't know what's going to happen with this Seattle passing attack. He had 2 catches for 15 yards. He drew a pass interference in there as well, but he had a drop on one of his classic option routes over the middle of the field. So I thought Darnold was okay in this game. They didn't.
Well, I thought he was pretty solid.
Have to do a lot.
Aside from anything else, in this world of is Darnold going to be all-pro caliber like he was last year for most of it? Is he going to be seeing ghost Darnold like he was for the final 2 games or somewhere in the middle? I mean, it was closer to the really good Darnold than it was the complete disaster that finished the season.
There were a lot of games that were just defensive-minded, low-scoring games, and this one, both teams were running the ball a lot to nowhere for the most part. Zach Charbonnet had a few nice runs overall, but Seattle didn't have a run from their running back more than 8 yards. And so it was a lot of just 2-3 yards at a time for both teams in this game.
The Seattle offensive line looked pretty good. This is another one how much is X versus Y? Their offensive line looked pretty good. On the other hand, we had question marks about the 49ers defensive line heading into this game outside of Nick Bosa, right? What are you going to get from the rookies, effectively? Michael Williams, the 2 defensive tackles. Generally, the Seahawks offensive line looked pretty good. And whilst Nick Bosa did get Abe Lucas a couple of times.
As you predicted.
Yeah.
As you predicted, you said Abe Lucas, who's not bad, will not be able to handle Nick Bosa.
Right.
That was the game-sealing sack.
Yeah, and he wasn't, at least for one of the most important plays of the game and for some plays during the game. However, Abe Lucas has apparently adopted the neck roll, which I think transforms his outlook completely.
Oh, yeah. You need a good neck roll.
I mean, when was the last time you saw an offensive lineman wearing a full neck roll like that?
1999.
Right. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I think it's about time we brought it back.
Andy Katzenmoyer at linebacker.
We need the neck roll was good, and then we need an offensive lineman to break out the full cowboy collar thing.
Yes.
Gonna get somebody rocking one of those again.
Yeah, we need more neck rolls in the NFL.
Yeah. It just
so
you're
the Niners
immediately
pulled it
more
off.
confident in his power with a neck roll. You're like, oh yeah, he can handle a bull rush against Nick Bosa.
So defensive slugfest in this one. And Niners run defense ended up being pretty good. Like Alfred Collins got moved. Zabel had a really nice block. Gray Zabel, him and Charles Cross moved Alfred Collins, a rookie defensive tackle, early on the Zach Charbonnet touchdown. Collins didn't see the field much after that, but I thought they did a pretty nice job slowing down Seattle's run game after some early success from Charbonnet.
Mm-hmm.
So Niners pull it off. Felt like both teams were trying to lose in this one.
Felt like both teams were trying to lose. You're thinking of the Cincinnati-Cleveland game.
There's a lot of games where you just, make fewer mistakes, but the Niners still made more mistakes and won it. All right, we got to go. Denver Broncos with the win over the Tennessee Titans. What was that final score? 20-12? Off the top of my head? Is that what it was? Denver
like
Broncos 20, Tennessee Titans 12. Broncos get the win to move to 1-0. This was an ugly game as well. Cam Ward's debut.
Yeah.
Broncos defense, man, just making a statement. They sacked Cam Ward 6 times. Cam Ward, in his debut, 12 of 28 for 112 yards. His first pass was a completion for 29 yards, so those numbers look even worse after that very first completion. But Bo Nix was not much better on the other side. Kept throwing the ball to the defense, including 2 interceptions there. Broncos, I'll list the mistakes that they made to help the Titans stay in this game that our friend Josh Norris listed off yesterday. And I'll grab that in a second. But, yeah, Denver did a lot to keep Tennessee in the game, but their defense looked legit and, as we expected, was going to be a challenge for Tennessee against Denver's pass rush and everything they do defensively.
Yeah, so that part, like Denver's defense being really good and causing problems for Cam Ward was relatively expected. We sort of highlighted what a bad matchup that might be for him to start his NFL career with, and it played out that way. However, what we didn't see coming was the Denver offense just being this terrible, with Bo Nix in particular having a nightmare of a game and keeping them in it. And then it required, like, Tennessee had a shot to win this. It was only a one-score game, albeit an 8-point one-score game. And then Tony Pollard fumbles the ball away. It's like you just need one,
This was with Denver's, showing signs of life with the run game that they didn't have last year. You got a 50-yarder from rookie R.J. Harvey. You got a really nice 19-yard touchdown run from J.K. Dobbins. Last year, there were so many games where they couldn't run the ball whatsoever, and it was like, all right, Bo Nix is doing pretty good with no run game, and he's scrambling when he needs to. He just had some rough decisions in this game. It looked like early season, rookie year Bo Nix. But they survived it, right? They survived it. They got Troy Franklin involved a little bit, 4 catches for 44 yards. Cortland Sutton with some really nice tough catches, 6 catches for 61 yards for him.
And that's the trio. Like, it's, that we wondered what dynamic, because Sean Payton just name drops every wide receiver when when he talks to anybody. So it's like, well, what is this receiving core actually going to look like when they're playing real games? Obviously, Cortland Sutton is the number 1, but what is it beyond that? Based off this, 2 and 3 are Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims. Like, it's not, certainly not yet. It's not going to be Pat Bryant, being the surprise package as wide receiver 2 or 3. Like, Franklin and Mims are the guys that are going to get the opportunity to be the receiving core.
So Josh Norris laid it out. He said the Broncos basically turned the ball over 6 times because Josh, our friend Josh, he has been pushing for a turnover on downs to count as an official turnover, which I get makes sense. So there's 2 Bo Nix interceptions, 2 turnovers on downs, a Bo Nix fumble, and then Marvin Mims muffed a punt. And the Broncos still won by 8. And there was never a point where I think you were expecting Tennessee's offense to finally capitalize. Cam Ward made 1 or 2 nice throws up the seam. One was dropped by Calvin Ridley when they were down 8. But he was under a ton of pressure. Nick Bonito was outstanding.
Yeah. He's really good.
He is really good. He's also a guest on Spotlight tomorrow with our friend Ari Mayrov. So check that out. Spotlight, NFL Spotlight, wherever you listen to your podcast, but especially here on YouTube, go find it and listen to the Nick Bonito interview. But Bonito, he looks faster than ever. very quick. He had a new free agent left tackle, Dan Moore, in a blender. And I think he gave Dan Moore a Myles Garrett game. He gave Dan Moore one of those. I mean, he beat Dan Moore to the inside a couple times. Incredible quickness. He had one, and then Dan Moore's, he's rushing his sets. He's countering off of that. He had one play where that third step of Benito, and he's just done. He's just by. His burst, his quickness, really incredible, and he just continued to carry on what he did. His second half surge last year, Nick Benito.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Benito is really good. There's also a question of, why did Dan Moore get $21 million a year, whatever it was, at left tackle?
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
Benito,
it was a question at the time.
They had Cam Ward had a little sprint out left, and Benito split a double team for a sack on 3rd and 3 inside the red zone. I mean, he just dominated Dan Moore, and I think he won on the other side one time too. So big game for Benito in the pass rush.
The kind of late drive where again they've got the ball. It's only a 1-score game. It's like I think it felt like every play was just Cam Ward firing the ball down the seam at like 1,000,000 miles an hour, hoping someone was going to come up with it.
Whether someone was there or not.
Just hoping somebody was going to come up with it. One of them was Chiga Okonkwo, I think, trying to one-hand it out of the air, like trying to literally one-hand a missile out of the air. Didn't happen. One of them was Calvin Ridley. Ridley had a couple of plays where he couldn't come up with them. But, I'm not sure why every throw was like a bullet up the seam.
So I mentioned the 2 turnovers on downs by the Broncos. One of the interesting decisions, 1:05 left. It's 4th and 8. I don't know if you have an opinion on this decision. It's 4th and 8 for Denver. They're up 8 at the Tennessee 36. You could see Sean Payton talking to Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator. It felt like that he was confirming, hey, here's what I'm going to do. You have one of 3 options here from the 36. It's 4th and 8, and they just lost 3 yards on the previous play, by the way. Mm-hmm. You can either go for it, you can kick a long field goal, or you could punt from the 36, maybe take a delay and punt or whatever, and really just try to pin them. Even if it's at the 20, it's still better because Tennessee has no timeouts left in a minute and rookie quarterback. And it felt like he's like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for this. And they went heavy personnel, deep play action, and then Troy Franklin had a step in the secondary, and Bo Nix threw just a moon ball that he missed by 5 yards. Thoughts on going for it there? I felt like, so the long field goal is risky because if you miss it, you're given better field position, but if you hit it, the game's over. The punt is weird because you're at the 36. It's really tough to really get more than 15 to 20 yards of field position, but it might be worth it. And going for it, of course, you're one play away from winning, but it's 4th and 8, so it's not like it's a gimme.
Yeah, I would have taken the shot at the field goal, I think. The second score is huge in that situation.
In Denver.
Obviously, keeping the ball effectively literally ends the game.
Yeah.
But you've got it's not 4th and 2, it's 4th and 8.
Yeah.
It's not an easy pickup. The kick.
It's also a weird play call, too. You go heavy formation on 4th and 8. You're not going to run it. So the play action still kind of worked, but
it doesn't quite end the game because theoretically, they can score onside kick, but it effectively ends the game. And then the going for it thing is maybe the most risky thing you can do because it's 4th and 8, and there's not that many plays you have for something like that because it's a one and done, got to have 8 yards type of thing. It's also, that was such a weird pass that he threw because on the one hand, I kind of understand it because you just put as much air under it as humanly possible. It's I'm going to throw this into orbit, and by the time it comes down, the receiver, no matter where he is, will have had a chance to run under it.
It looked like one of those plays where you have 6 seconds left, and the QBs, and you run a 4th down play just to end the game, and you throw it as high as you can to make sure that it takes up the rest of the time. That's what it looked like he was throwing, but he was trying to complete it.
Or the way Chad Pennington used to throw deep balls, which is, look, I can't get it to where you need to be if I, during standard kind of drop back cadence because I've got 45 yards in me. But if I take 1 second to drop back and put it in the air, I'll just put so much air under it that by the time you'll run under it effectively. Because if you put that much air under it, you buy your receiver a lot of margin for error. It can be wildly inaccurate, and the guy's got enough time to basically adjust and get under it by the time it comes down. Only he was still so far, he was so off with it that even with that amount of air under it, Franklin couldn't get under it. That's how off target it was.
It was a strange play overall. They also got stuffed your boy Tervondre Sweat stuffed a QB sneak
Yeah.
on 4th and inches that would have all but sealed the game. And the Broncos had many ways to finish it on offense, and they didn't.
Right.
Including the muffed punts. Like, they gave the Titans a ton of opportunities, but the Broncos defense looks as advertised, and the Titans offense, the pass protection was supposed to be better. It wasn't.
Yep.
J.C. Latham also got hurt, and he wasn't having the best game anyway. So the pass protection's not better, and the questions about weapons for Cam Ward beyond Calvin Ridley is probably fair. And Ridley also dropped one of Cam Ward's best throws.
I mean, this is one, the pass protection wasn't better, but we definitely need to put the caveat of against Denver's pass rush, which is formidable, destructive, led the league in sacks last year.
Tough
what did they
place
have?
to start.
Six against them in this game? Like, this is probably as tough an assignment as this offensive line is going to have all year. And yes, it failed it, but the bar was set very high.
Normally, I like to have like a blow-by-blow breakdown on the rookie quarterback's performance. I feel like we didn't learn a whole lot about Cam Ward. He doesn't play in structure a ton, which is I think it's going to go both ways this year. Couple nice throws in there, but a lot of rookie moments. I thought there were some moments where he's trying to avoid the rush, out-athlete them, and it wasn't happening. Because Denver's legit up front. So I didn't think we get a good read on Cam Ward in this game.
I think it's a similar story to the offensive line. Like, all we know is that he wasn't good enough in this game, but we don't know what that means long term because this was an extremely difficult assignment for both him and his offensive line.
All right, man, 2 more games, including one of the games of the year. It's 9:46.
Sweet.
We're doing all right now. Doing all right. It's good pace. Los Angeles Rams, 14. Houston Texans, 9. Defensive struggle in this one as well. 2 good defenses, but the Rams get the win. They pull it off. A couple turnovers for both teams here. It's Nate Landman. Landman. The number of times you hear the broadcast yell, Landman, with a big play. Huge game for Landman in his first game with the Rams, including what ended up becoming a game-ending forced fumble.
Yeah, the peanut punch forced the ball out and the turnover. By the way, Braden Fisk with a really impressive fumble recovery on that play. Like, full dive on the turf, one-hands it to get a hold of it, to beat somebody to the ball, and then other one-hands it to snag it in. Like, we've come from the PFF system where, generally speaking, fumble recoveries are like luck rather than skill, and it sort of bounces your way. This was one of the most skillful and impressive fumble recoveries I've ever seen in my life.
I was thinking the same thing when I saw that. There's certain times, like we always debate around draft time, like production versus athleticism and everything. And Braden Fisk was a really good athlete.
Yeah.
There's certain times, and like when Trayvon Walker had to run with the ball last year, and you're like, whoa, he's a better athlete than everyone. There's certain times when being an elite athlete, like Trayvon Walker, Shamar Stewart, like Braden Fisk, from a testing perspective, seems to work out for you. And this was one of those times. It was like just an incredible athletic effort by Fisk to recover the fumble.
You see a guy do that, and then you see other situations where people can't even pick up a ball. And you're like, what? If a guy can do that, how come you can't just fall on the football?
We have Ladd McConkey the other night where he had plenty of space to recover, and he's like, I'm just going to bat it out of bounds.
Yeah, that's business decision. But that's the people who literally just try and fall on a football and can't achieve it. And yet Braden Fisk's out here like swamp diving into hell, one-handed, like trying to bring these things in. It's insane play.
I'm not sure if you saw this stat that I put out there, but you ready for this?
Sure.
Rams defense, in their last 4 regular season games, in which their starters played, because they had a Week 18 game where they didn't play starters. Here's their points allowed, their last 4 games. 6, 9, 9, and 9. Now, of course, there was 2 playoff games in there, and what have you. And they gave up 28 against Philadelphia. But in the last 4 regular season games, remember, that was the story for the Rams down the stretch. Yeah. They were not an explosive offense.
It's like 2000 Ravens pace.
It is. And they weren't an explosive offense down the stretch. Stafford wasn't great last year in the second half of the season. But the defense stepped up, and they caused havoc. And they were one of those defenses. I didn't always know how they did it, but at the end of the game, you're like, man, they didn't give up a lot of points. And I feel like this is one of those, just the 3 field goals for the Texans.
Well, it obviously starts. I mean, their defensive line kind of picked up where they left off. That young group of pass rushers I thought was really impressive in this game. They can get pressure, and like so many players get pressure as well. They were, again, how much of it is their defensive line still being really good? How much of it is the Texans' offensive line is still ass, right? TBD. We don't know yet. But in this game, that was the dynamic. Like, it was wrecking the Texans' offense. So that was a big part of it. Like, they were making plays on the back end as well. Kobe Durant had an absurd turnover where it's
I
actually...
didn't think that was going to stand, but that was an incredible
I didn't think it was, but I'm really glad it did because it should have.
Same.
Not just because it was an awesome play, because I genuinely, like, that should have stood. That's one of those ones where if you want, you can go into replay and try and find a reason to not let it stand. But, like, not a single person looked at that live and was like, oh, that's definitely sketchy. Got to take a look at that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's an amazing play. Awesome. And, oh, yeah, look, on slow-mo replay, if we play it at a quarter speed, you can see it does move slightly once it hits the ground. But, like, he doesn't lose control of it. He still got it in his hand. Anyway, like, absurd. It was actually a really good pass from C.J. Stroud. Like a dime. Higgins goes up and high points it really well, and then Kobe Durant just takes it away from him on the way to the ground.
Yeah, that was really an incredible play. Another guy, he was drafted as an athletic upside type of player. I don't know where the rest of the season goes, but much like Zion McCollum, much like Tariq Woolen as a uber athletic corner, McCollum took 3 years to figure it out. Durant's in year 4, I believe, or 5 at this point. But yeah, that was a great play by him, and he was playing. It was like inverted cover 2. He was playing safety on that play and makes a great play on the ball. You're right, though. Like the Rams pass rush, both pass rushes were fantastic. Both offensive lines got beat up. That it was the one C.J. Stroud sack where both Jared Verse and Byron Young are collapsing both tackles. It was Cam Robinson getting the start at left tackle for the Texans, and it was Arante Ursary at right tackle. Both tackles just getting collapsed at the same time from Verse and Byron Young for a sack. Yeah, the Rams pass rush looks as fierce as it was last year, and I think the Texans have something similar. But Stafford in the pass game, I don't know how they didn't put up more points, to be honest, because I thought Stafford did a nice job. They went in these spurts where he was finding Puka Nacua. He had that beautiful back shoulder that you referenced a couple hours ago to Devontae Adams. Stafford looked healthy and looked, that maybe it's not as big of a story with the back injury. I think the longevity of the season's the bigger story, but maybe week to week, Stafford's going to be perfectly fine.
I told you, they're going to wheel him out. They're going to shoot him up for whatever painkillers he needs to get the job done. You're not going to know. It's like, that's Stafford. He's the man's, we've seen this career. He's willing to go out and do that. Maybe it's going to have some long-term effects, but like short-term, I think he'll show up in the injury report every week, but Stafford's good to go.
He had a great throw to Xavier Smith. I mean, it just big plays in there, man.
The Nate Tice had a tweet late last night. I don't know what his source of these stats is, but pressures allowed by the Texans, and this was just so far, apparently. This was during the game. But Jake Andrews with 4, one of which was fast. Laken Tomlinson with 4. Cam Robinson with 3. And Arante Ursary with 3. But Titus Howard hadn't given up anything yet. So, yeah, the offensive line was still problematic.
Yeah, I think you felt that with Stroud. I also, Nick Chubb ended up, I don't think the final numbers were awful. It was 13 carries for 60 yards at 4.6 a pop. It felt like there was just a lot of runs at, 2 or 3 yards at a time. Just didn't feel like they were on schedule where they needed to be offensively.
No, but I did feel that Chubb looked a little bit more like Nick Chubb. Last year, he never really looked like himself, coming back from the injury. He didn't look like maybe that player was never going to be there again. This looked a little bit more formidable and dynamic. I think maybe we're not going to see, the true best version of Nick Chubb again, but this, he looked like he might get somewhere near that.
Stroud, the eventual, I always say the game winner, but the deciding touchdown, really nice throw to Davis Allen at tight end coming out of play action. I thought Stafford threw the ball well, made some really nice throws down the field. Devontae Adams with 4 catches in there,
yep.
And Puka did his thing. So, again, I feel like the Rams have more potential on offense to score more than 14, but the Texans, their defense is legit. Derek Stingley, they attacked him. They had no problem going after Stingley and Lassiter in their secondary.
Yeah. Stingley got hurt, left the game, and I think they sort of saw that as like, well, let's find out if he can still play after that.
Yeah, they were attacking him after the fact. But I still think the Texans defense has a ton of potential in their pass rush. They just, the same questions kind of there for the offense. We thought we'd get more from Nico Collins and Jaden Higgins had a couple catches in there, but they're still finding their way on the offensive side.
The Rams used a lot more 12 personnel, so 2 tight ends.
Been waiting for this for 7 years.
Ever. Yeah. And it was successful. Like at one point, their numbers out of 12 personnel were absurd in this game. But like this has been like they've been one of the most 11 personnel sort of exclusive teams since Sean McVay got there. And even his disciples tended to be that way as well. Almost all of them have pivoted away from that to a degree. And McVay is kind of the last guy to have done it. But maybe this game signifies or signals that's something they're going to do more of this year.
And that was without their top draft pick, second rounder Terrence Ferguson, even being out there. And they still did it with Tyler Higbee, Davis Allen, who I mentioned, had the deciding touchdown there. So good win for the Rams. And again, their defense, that's the type of team that they've become, which is a bit more ball control, play defense. But at the same time, I'm encouraged by what Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, the 12 personnel, what they could do. So I think they'll put more points up on the board when they go up against lesser defenses here.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on Texans Rams?
Nope.
Is there finally one game left?
Yep.
Anything to discuss in Sunday Night Football?
I believe there are things, yes.
Buffalo Bills 41. Baltimore Ravens 40.
Yeah.
41-40. A scorigami.
Was it really?
By the way. Scorigami. It was 40-24 with about 4:20 something left. 40-25 Ravens with about 4:25 left, and the Bills facing a 4th and 2. And Josh Allen rolls out, throws a pass to someone, no one knows who, but it got tipped up and landed, or ended up in the hands of Keon Coleman for a touchdown. And the Bills ended up coming all the way back to get the win with a walk-off field goal from Matt Prater, who, as they say, fewer than 100 hours in Buffalo for Matt Prater.
100 hours, huh? He now becomes the oldest player in the league, right?
Oh, is he that old?
I think he's 41.
Oh, good for him.
So we were saying the other day that Rodgers, I think, was the oldest player in the league now that,
Happy for
everyone
Matt Prater.
retired. I think Matt Prater, now that he signed, is the oldest player in the league.
For 40-year-olds everywhere.
But I still have no idea how the Bills won this game. So it started off, and it's like, okay, Buffalo's defense is actually, bringing some aggression to the table, and they slowed down Baltimore for like a drive or two. And then business as usual resumed, and the Ravens broke out some read option stuff. Like they couldn't contain Lamar Jackson on the read option, and then that opened up the Derrick Henry stuff, and Derrick Henry's just running riot through their defense, and it's the same old thing. Like they run with the split safeties, there aren't enough bodies in the box. Derrick Henry just outruns everybody, smashes through everybody. Like it's going crazy. Baltimore is just like Derrick Henry's rattling off 9.5 yards per carry. What did he finish at? But something pretty ridiculous. And then we're like, okay, Baltimore's just taking control of this game. They're dominating. Buffalo can't stop them. You're like, how does anybody stop this offense? This is why the Ravens are the best team in the NFL. They do this to every good team. And then, like you said, in the last 4 minutes, it all just disappeared. And somehow Buffalo comes all the way back and snatches the win.
Yeah, there's so much to figure out here. There's a million of these stats. Like this was the first time in 700 games. This is the first time in 300 games. This is the first time a team's ever run for 235 and had a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter and lost. Like this, the Ravens and the Bills set records on both ends of the spectrum of we've never seen this before.
Right.
Where it started, it did feel like one of those nights, though, early on.
And a Derrick Henry fumble. Like he's had three fumbles in the last 2 years.
Yeah. After, like you said, there was a point in the game where Lamar Jackson had exactly 11.4 yards per attempt and 11.4 yards per rush. And Derrick Henry had more yards per rush than him.
Right.
And he was at 12. So, like, Derrick Henry was at 12, and Lamar is at 11.4 in both.
I mean, he finished with 9.4 after getting, shut down in the final series. But a Derrick Henry fumble ends up being, a huge negative factor in the game.
Buffalo's defense was awful.
Yeah.
Other than maybe Greg Rousseau, who made some plays, and Ed Oliver in particular.
Who made 3 splash plays, yeah.
And the splash plays were he didn't let Lamar Jackson break free from a sack.
Yeah.
Right? He did not become a meme or another highlight reel for Lamar Jackson. He finished the play.
He got through to Lamar Jackson, and unlike most of the times when that happens, he wasn't then left with his face first in the turf. He actually finished and got hold of him and didn't let him loose.
You could tell how good of an offensive performance it is by our former boss, Chris, and how much grunting and moaning he's doing during the game and how much he's he's just like, it's great. But there was a lot of that last night from Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, between Chris grunting. There was some pretty high comedy from the broadcast last night between Chris grunting, them like talking up what a spectacular play they were about to dial up on the 2-point conversion, only to see them throw an end zone fade. It's like literally that's the most Mickey Mouse play you could possibly draw up, and you're like, nah, they've been practicing this for the last 6 months. And then I know he was trying to praise like Josh Allen's work on the audible, but the first words out of Chris's mouth after James Cook breaks off a 50-yard run after the catch, like making 4 people look stupid, is like, that was all Josh Allen and that one. Like, what? And then he like eventually gets a chance to show why he thought it was all Josh Allen because of the audible that he made to check into that play. But it's like, it was just funny.
I just want to finish the Ed Oliver thought, though, too. Like, so he has the sack of Lamar Jackson, and then he was the one who forced the fumble on Derrick Henry. So monster game for Ed Oliver. I don't think you could find another player on Buffalo's defense where you would say they played well. I mean, the Ravens averaged 8 yards per carry. Lamar was over 11. Derrick Henry was over 9. It was 11 yards per attempt. But the last couple drives, they stopped the Ravens.
Yeah.
And gave their offense
How does that happen? I don't understand how you get games like that where it's like,
so we have to
basically every drive, you can't stop this team. Like 9.5 yards per carry. We're talking Ashton Jeanty averaged 2, right? Like 9.5 yards per carry is utterly nuts. And that's just Derrick Henry. Forget the Lamar Jackson element of it as well. Like they could not come close to stopping this team. And then suddenly it's like, the game's on the line.
I want to talk about this from a Ravens perspective first. Again, proper credit will be divvied out where it needs to and everything. Where is this? Okay, that's not breaking news. From a Ravens perspective, what are the total numbers of blown leads in the John Harbaugh era? But like in the Lamar Jackson era, the number of blown leads here. And usually when you hear blown leads, you think defense. But this goes both ways here, right? Why do you have an offense that looks unstoppable for literally 90% of the game? Right? We're talking you get win probability up to 98, 99% multiple times and then blow it and then lose. And still at the end of the day, you're like, you're averaging 10 yards per play. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You're averaging 10 yards per play. And Lamar Jackson is unique. Like there is no one like him. He made a play where he could have been sacked for a 15-yard loss and turned it into an 18-yard gain. And it was something like 75 yards of, running on the actual play.
Yeah.
Like you should have lost. You retreated and should have lost 15 and you gained 18 or whatever. And you have these plays where he's on a keeper, and you're like, he's got so much room. He's got so much room to run. And you have other plays where the receivers are so open because you could see the defense saying, we have to crowd the box. Like, how are we going to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson? Zay Flowers, I don't even know if Zay Flowers ran a good route or not in this game. He was just wide open the whole day because they had to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Where does that go at the end of the game when the Ravens need to run the clock and hold on to these big leads?
But also, remember we said, theoretically, the Ravens have been optimally constructed to beat the Chiefs, and they just haven't for whatever reason. Like, generally, they should be a team that's actually designed to stop the previous iteration of like a high-octane, explosive Chiefs offense. Like, they were the team that you would drop to do that, and yet that was the one team they couldn't beat. In a similar way, this Baltimore offense is like exactly what you would want to ice a game. Like, we got to run the ball, chew the clock. Oh, great, we've got Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. It's impossible to stop us. And yet this is the offense that's conspiring to blow all these absurd leads. Somebody sent me a tweet that had like a composite, Mike Schur on Twitter, sent me this like mashup Photoshop of all the box scores of the leads that the Ravens have blown. I don't know how long this dates back to, but like this is all of these leads that they've screwed up fairly late in the game with significant leads in a lot of them.
They're under John Harbaugh, so some of those go way back. But like it just in more recent years, was the Raiders on there last year? Yeah, so they were up last year's Raiders with Gardner Minshew at quarterback in week 2, 23-13 in the fourth quarter. Browns 31-17 in the fourth quarter. Can we put that back up? So I'm just going to read them. I'm reading off the monitor.
35-14 against Miami with 12.
The Miami
left.
one I remember, right? We were all blaming Kyle Hamilton for blown coverages, and it's Mike McDonald's fault. Buffalo 20-3.
I mean, this
At
is
the
the
half,
most
a
egregious
couple
of
years
them in
back?
terms of how late in the game we got.
Yeah, this was bad. The 35-14 game in the fourth quarter. That was when Tua first went nuts, right? I don't understand it. All right, we're good. But 40-25 yesterday, and it was 4th and 2 with 4:06 left in the game.
That, I mean, for given the way this offense had been going in that game, that should have been an unassailable lead at that point. Like, it should have been, there's no way Buffalo can come back. And to be fair, I mean, a Derrick Henry fumble goes a long way.
The
towards
fumble
that.
is the biggest thing, obviously.
The fumble was the first time I actually considered the possibility that this game might end up close, right? Like, up until that point, I'd been like, there's no way this is an easy Baltimore win that, like, there's no way Buffalo stops them to the point where this can become close. Derrick Henry fumbling the ball away and that being turnover was the first time in the game that it occurred to me this could actually end up as the decision was, or the result was actually in doubt.
Yeah, that's where I quite literally said, "Oh my!" Like this, something's happened. Oh my, it's actually happened.
What an old man thing to say.
That's what I said. I actually tweeted that out.
Good heavens!
My in-game
Great
tweeting's
Scott.
horrible.
Yeah,
Terrible. You just whatever comes to mind. Things are happening. I think I said no way. I said no way. The fumble. No way. So yeah, I can't figure out the Ravens. It almost feels like it's not even that they ran out of the good plays. Like Derrick Henry, when they give him the ball on outside zone, and sometimes it's a toss, sometimes it's just a straight handoff. When they give him the ball, like there's a ton of space. A lot of times there's a ton of space. I'm not taking anything away from Derrick Henry. Like it's well blocked up, and he's like Saquon Barkley, where he could take it to the house with that type of speed. He's just got a second level where he outruns everybody.
it's amazing that I think he still surprises defenders when he gets to the second level how fast he's moving.
Yeah.
Like the power surprises you in a different way. Like it surprised Cole Bishop when he just had his face thrown into the turf. That's surprising I knew he was a big, strong, and tough, but like, wow, you know? The speed surprises them, though. It's like you think a guy that big and strong should be fairly slow, and he doesn't look that fast when he's rumbling. But like he runs, 99 yards and nobody runs him down. He is fast when he gets going. So consistently you see him get to the second level, and safeties are still taking crappy angles to him. It's like you're never going to tackle him if you're taking a bad angle to it.
So I want to finish this from a Ravens perspective because they're 0-1 now after blowing this lead.
Yeah.
The three things I can't figure out. How does the offense go from unstoppable to
Non-functional.
very stoppable in some of these key situations? They can't get that key first down when they need to. Bigger picture, why can't they do this offensively against the Chiefs? That's the one team that they've played multiple times where they've never had this game. They've done this to the Bills a few times. They did it to the Lions. They did it to the good Niners team. They've done it to every good team that they've played, except last year's Eagles. But they play them every 4 years. But like, why have they never had this dominant offensive game against the Chiefs in the last 3 or 4 years?
Part of this is game plan related, though. Like Buffalo, again, we said this coming in because look at what they did last year. They did a lot of similar things this year. Buffalo's defensive scheme, their default scheme, is exactly the worst type of scheme to try and stop the Ravens offense. It's like you're going to play a lot of split safeties. You're taking guys out of the box. You're giving Derrick Henry the room to get rumbling. If they pull out read option stuff as well, you simply don't have enough bodies. You're literally, assignment football is not sound when that's happening. Like you don't have enough people up front to stop both Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in every single play. So it's like it's almost designed to promote the kind of running that Baltimore does. I'm more interested in how do they then go, right now, this drive, we're going to pull it out and actually turn it on and stop you. Like things that had to happen in this game for this result to go this way. Remember, was it like the first drive? Josh Allen came out there it almost felt like he was juiced too much with the excitement, the motivation.
Brett Favre.
Yeah, and had like
100-mile-an-hour
throw just off the fingertips of his receiver.
Brett Favre used to come out, overthrow his first 3 passes, and then John Madden would be like, Brad, he just loves football so much. He's so fired up.
He's just so fired up. And then would settle in, right? Well, Allen goes out there, fires a bullet off his receiver's hands. Malachi Starks can't quite come up with it. Like had a shot at a turnover right at the start. They end up getting an open drive touchdown instead, right? So that's a 7-point swing if they do that. Remember just before halftime, the Ravens set up with we're not blitzing anybody. We're just going to,
the 1
everybody.
second left.
Zero man drop. And somehow Josh Allen, the Bills, still found a sideline pass with the 1 second allegedly on the clock. How do you get a sideline throw? So I thought that they literally didn't rush anybody, right? A zero man rush. Everybody was in coverage or spying the quarterback to some degree. Normally when that happens, you're like, everybody's on the sideline because you can't give them the clock. I think what they did is they basically ran almost like a fake Hail Mary. So everyone backed up, and then they just had a guy circle in and run to the sideline, and it worked. So they got that, like a miracle play before the halftime. That gets them 3 points. That's 10 points right there that probably shouldn't have happened. And then you get the Derrick Henry fumble. This game felt like an absolute beatdown from Baltimore's point of view for 75% of the game. And then Ed Oliver with a few key plays. Josh Allen with that just before halftime sneaky miracle thing, getting away with what could have been a pick right at the start, and then Derrick Henry fumble. Like those 5 things put together make up for all of that.
I want to read off the drive chart, and then, I want to add to that too. When it was 40-25, Baltimore, here were the drives. They go 3 plays, 6 yards. Then Buffalo gets the ball back, and they get that 4th and 2 touchdown to make it 40-32. Then the Ravens get the ball back. They go 2 plays, 4 yards, Derrick Henry fumble. Bills get the ball back. So then the Bills score a touchdown and go for 2 and don't get it. That's the fate. So now it's 40-38. So then the Ravens, they have one more chance.
Yeah.
With this offense averaging 10 yards a pop right now. Actually more at the time probably. And they go 3 and out, 3 plays, 7 yards, and Buffalo gets the ball back and they drive down for the field goal. In most comebacks, 28-3 Falcons Patriots, it was 28-3 and then the 28 stayed the same.
Yeah.
And the Patriots just stacked it up and they won the game. But in this game, the Ravens were up, what were they up many times? 20-10, 27-13, 34-19. They kept scoring too until they stopped. But it wasn't like the Bills defense just cracked down for 6 or 7 possessions and let the offense come back. The Ravens kept scoring. Every time the Bills had signs of life, the Ravens did score until they stopped in those last 3 drives, including the Derrick Henry fumble. That was what I think was unique about this game. Because like you said, it felt like a Ravens beatdown for a while. It didn't feel like the Bills were going to come back until the Henry fumble.
Yes. At
the very, very end with under 4 minutes left in the game.
But that's the 28-3 game was actually what it was reminding me of because again, the Ravens basically just needed one drive where they had any kind of first down for most of the fourth quarter. If the Ravens get one more first down for the majority of the fourth quarter, this game might be too far for Buffalo to make it happen.
Think about what went against the Bills too, because Magnus did nothing wrong. A subscriber here
on the
channel asked the question. Remember, one of the 2-point conversions, Keon Coleman stepped out of bounds, comes back in, catches it, and it gets negated. I thought he got forced out. Does that matter in that?
Not in terms of it being legal. I mean, it's still
because he got knocked out of bounds, comes back.
You're still not allowed to be the first guy to touch the ball.
The Bills failed on 2 2-point conversions.
Yeah,
along the way, and so it wasn't. And they still managed to kick the game-winning field goal there. I know
it's crazy.
There was a lot that had to happen.
And then, as JJ points out, you have that play, Hamilton's interception, where he then pitches the ball back, and
what a play by Van Noy.
But if Van Noy had just taken a kneel in the end zone, it would have been a safety and 1 point to the Buffalo Bills, which is they were saying they can't find an instance in NFL history of that ever happening. That's how ridiculous that play that would have been.
See why I don't want these games in week 1?
Hamilton,
this needs to be late in the season. This needs to be the AFC Championship.
But Hamilton's thinking touchdown. He's thinking, I'm pitching it out here. We're going to go down the sideline. And Van Noy's to hell with that. No. We're just taking this.
That's a really sharp play by Van Noy because I think a lot of players instinctually would just take a knee and be like, I'm a defensive end. I'm an edge rusher. Don't flip it to me, Kyle. I'm not going to run this all the way back. I'm going to take a knee. But because Hamilton took it out and then threw it back, like you said, he had to come out of the end zone.
I don't even know. I didn't see. Did anybody ask him what his thought process was? Because it might have just been it took him a beat to think. You know what I mean? Sometimes these
Van
guys.
Noy?
Yeah. Sometimes when you get the
first
pick,
instinct is probably to run.
Right.
But yeah,
because that happens a lot, right?
Right.
Guys catch the ball and
then
they
you're like,
take
"This
a
is
couple.
stupid."
They take a step or two, and they're like, "No, wait, I'm just gonna take the knee." I wonder if he was consciously thinking, "I need to get out of the end zone, otherwise this is a safety," or if he just got lucky, basically.
My third question about the Ravens, before I want to flip and give the Bills a little bit of credit as well. My questions on the Ravens: why can't they run out the clock and they blow these leads?
Yeah.
Why have they never had a dominant offensive performance against the Chiefs? They've done it against everyone else. And then how does the defense blow it too? Because the defense, when you look at end of the year rankings, like they're rarely not in the top 10. Like they're usually a top 10 defense. They have enough pass rush. Their secondary is good. They have Kyle Hamilton, the best safety in the league. They have Jair Alexander at corner, who did give up a lot. Maybe he's done. I don't know. They have Marlon Humphrey. Like they've got good players on the defensive side of the ball. This isn't like other times where you have this elite offense and it's like, man, the defense is just bad.
Yeah.
The Ravens have a complete team.
Yeah.
They probably have the most complete team on paper. I think John Harbaugh overall is a good coach because he's helped facilitate some of the aggressiveness and everything. But should he be criticized? Right? There's a lot of times throughout the years where he's gone for two and failed. Like there's a lot of just misses on John Harbaugh's watch, even though I think he's been a fantastic coach. And the guy's won, a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco and had, high-end teams with two different types of quarterbacks. That means something. But is he a factor in some of these late-game mishaps?
I mean, he has to be a factor. Like at some point, you just need to look at the sheet of all the games and be like, this can't possibly just be a string of coincidences. Like this has to be something institutional that is causing this consistent inability to see out these games. Like, again, they should have won this game, I think, relatively comfortably. And again, it wasn't until the Derrick Henry fumble that I even considered the possibility that they weren't going to win this game. And somehow it all stacked up late, and they weren't able to get it done. I mean, there has to be some kind of internal debrief to be like, what the hell happened? And obviously part of that is, look, Josh Allen is amazing and capable of spectacular plays, and maybe there's only a couple of quarterbacks in the NFL that are even capable of executing that kind of comeback, even with getting lucky along the way, getting these plays bounce your way. But, yeah, you have to look at this and say, is this the same thing as the reason we're not winning the playoffs, right? Like, is this all one symptom of something we're not curing yet?
By the way, DeAndre Hopkins had a one-handed touchdown catch.
Spectacular.
Right? It was at a point where you're like, the Ravens, who are already unstoppable, now they've got late career DeAndre Hopkins, who looked like he was done last year when he played with the Chiefs, and he's catching, making one-handed catches. They're definitely winning the Super Bowl. This is their year. What else do we have here? Teams with 40-plus points and 235 rushing yards in a game were 277-0. Now they're 277-1.
Yeah.
Josh Dubow.
There you go.
Stat segment.
There's a Josh stat.
Josh Allen and the Bills are the fourth team since 2000 to win a game they trailed by 15-plus points with less than 4:10 to play. All the others did it in overtime. Drew Brees' Saints in 2017, Tim Tebow's Broncos in 2011, and Peyton Manning's Colts, of course, that famous Monday night comeback against the Bucs. They all needed overtime to make it happen, not Josh Allen and these Bills. 15-point deficit with 4:10 to play. Josh Dubow, stat hour. Josh Allen's the sixth quarterback ever with 400-plus passing and rushing, four-plus touchdowns running and passing, and 0 turnovers in week 1 in history. Sixth guy ever to do that. But yeah, Allen, he just plays a different game too. Him and Lamar are unique in their own ways, right? I don't think nobody really plays like them. Mahomes plays his own game. That is what's fun about the league right now. They all are different stylistically and how they get it done. The number of times that Allen is just scrambling around, running around, making plays to try to make a throw down the field, and he's finding players, really incredible. So Allen made some huge plays down the stretch. He had the 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns to seal it all.
Yeah. Utterly ridiculous comeback.
Do you have anything else to add to this game? Are you done?
I think I'm done with this game.
3 hours and 20 minutes in. It was fun. I hope we see it in the playoffs again.
Yeah. Let's wrap with, what is your favorite overreaction from this weekend? What's the shouty show? What if you were You're on the shouty shows today. They're like, we've had a spate of injuries, Steve. You're called up out of the bullpen. You could give us your best shouty take. What's your favorite overreaction?
Dan Campbell has lost the team. Dan Campbell's fourth down decisions have come back to bite. Ben Johnson was the real brains behind the operation. I know Ben Johnson's playing tonight, and he could get shut out for all I know. But as of right now, Ben Johnson was the brains in Detroit. Aaron Glenn was the offensive mastermind. His Jets scored 32 points. The Lions scored 13. Really 6 outside of garbage time. Dan Campbell lost his fastball. The Lions are cooked.
I like it. Good.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Good delivery?
Yeah. I mean, pretty shouty.
Good.
It's good.
Do you have one? What's your shouty show take of the week?
Johnny Unitas, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, Daniel Jones. Colts have got their next quarterback of the future and the present, and he's going to lead them all the way to the Super Bowl in honor of Jim Irsay.
Oh, I like that. Irsay Revenge Tour.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace. Yeah, that's a good one.
Danny was just held back by the New York media market the whole time.
Oh, yeah. The media was holding him down.
You put him in the Midwest, Danny Dimes ready to cook.
Midwest Danny is a much better fit. The khakis play much better here where we live, right? Khakis, a little
the slightly goofy smile,
sweater vest,
yeah.
The whole
The man's built for the Midwest.
Oh yeah, undefeated as Colts quarterback.
Not just undefeated, but like untouchable.
He's never not scored on a drive as a Colts quarterback. Yeah, it's tough to argue with that.
100% scoring rate.
Anything else? This is kind of fun. Let's predict the shouty show.
I mean, it's got to be Miami. Like, there's Mike McDaniel's not going to make it till Halloween. It's not even going to. No.
How about fire John Harbaugh? Will probably come up.
John Harbaugh.
Right? John Harbaugh is the key here.
What's the next like recognizable date that's coming along? Because that's when Mike McDaniel's getting fired. Halloween's too far away. That's like a month and a half.
Rosh Hashanah.
The hell is that?
Jewish holiday.
Oh.
End of September.
Not a lot of Jewish people in Ireland, I don't think. So we're not.
I mean, like by week 3, we're talking.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
By week
that's
3,
when he's getting canned.
Mike McDaniel's out by. When Green Day says, wake me up when September ends, Mike McDaniel's not even going to be around.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, how's that?
You'll be waking the Dolphins up because Mike McDaniel will be fired. They'll have a new coach.
He'll be dead like Green Day said. Okay, yeah, great. Are we done? Tell everybody about the subscriptions.
Yeah, memberships.
Memberships.
Yes, you can go to the channel, the subscribe button, and you can join the memberships. We've got 3 different tiers. As Steve has been a pains to point out, you're not losing out on anything if you don't want to be a member. That's fine. You'll still get all the content. In fact, you'll be getting more content because we're going to be doing more generally because it's season. So everyone's getting more content. The people that are members on the various tiers will be getting various little bonus things, little perks of videos, content, exclusive content. We'll be doing some exclusive streams. If you're in the middle tier, you get your name up on the wall of the studio, which will have better imagery attached to it when it's light out, which it is now. But we'll name on the studio, like little founding members. We've got 5 of them up there right now.
I see where it is now. So you click subscribe.
Yep.
The super fan level, $2.99 a month. You get your own custom emojis. You got my headshot, your headshot. You got here to pay the bills.
Yep.
So you get your own emojis, loyalty badges. Everybody knows in the chat that you're a super fan. Insider gets your name on the wall. Plus all the same stuff.
Yep. And some more stuff.
Our own live streams, members only videos. That's all part of Insider. $9.99 a month. And I love this one. The Howard Hughes. Somebody will join, right? The Howard Hughes billionaire. $99.99 a month.
Yeah. Email us.
Just for fun.
Check the mic at the 33rd team. Email us with suggestions of different emojis we can add up. We've only just scratched the surface of that right now. And also, if you want something written on the wall, like that's different from your name on the YouTube, like if you want a different name, then let us know what you would like that to be. One person did that. Everyone else just got whatever they were signed up as. So if you're in that tier and you want your name on the wall that's different to your YouTube name, write in, let us know.
And as we said, the show's still free. Mo Hall reminds us. A 200-minute show here in Week 1. This might be a record Week 1 recap.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell if that message came in before or after you just did the thing that he was asking. But Steve D in Italy is asking, do we explain where and how to go about becoming a member again? So let's do that. What was your summation?
Click subscribe.
Yep.
So if you're already subscribed, it'll say subscribe. and then a plus button. When you click on it, you'll see the 3 tiers: Superfan, Insider, and Howard Hughes Billionaire.
Gotcha.
And you just choose from there.
Nice.
All right. And people have been gifting subscriptions.
Yeah,
and,
that's pretty cool.
Memberships and everything. Saying the wrong words. All right, we're out of here. You good?
So soon?
Big show Wednesday. Be sure to join us. It's 9 a.m. on Wednesday. Logan Ryan, Cynthia Freeland, special guests, and you never know what the Wednesday show is going to look like. More shouty shows might respond to ourselves. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you Wednesday with more Check the Mic.